Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we have a great show coming at you for this Friday night as the haunted therapist. Brett Harpp is going to be here, and she's going to break down her paranormal stories and how she helps people suffering from the ghosties. Yes, we're going to get into it very, very quickly, but first we have to say hello to each and every one of you, including SJ in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver, T-Bone, my man, with a bronze medal tonight. Paramarv, how you doing, buddy? How's it going? Kitty Caddywhack, good to see you. Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show, because you can't talk ghosts without having a little bit of lube to help you out, because you got to slide right into that show and slide right into that topic. So thank you, Mel, for the lube. We really appreciate it. Scrolling on down, we say hello next to Robert Lamoth. How are you? Road Flare and Trucker Andrew, good to have you both here as we scroll on down on our roll call. Frankie B and Thunderhead, good to see you both. Lisa Smith, nice to see you. Necessary Dialogue, Vamp Skyder, and who is next? It's Mama Catherine, everybody. Mwah! I love you, Mama Catherine. I hope you have a great weekend coming up after this show. Make sure you get a good night's sleep tonight, okay? All right, thank you for your love each and every day. I appreciate you so, so much. Scrolling on down, we have next. We got Skip to Malou. Good morning to you in Denmark. Flat Six is here. Flat Six will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio, please and thank you. Desert Rat, nice to have you here. And Luscious Jules, nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call. And, of course, who is next? Well, let's take a little peeky-poo here. Number 44 in your program tonight, starting at right wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. There he is. United We Stand. How are you? And who is next on our list? Well, let's just scroll on down. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Little Cam just coming out of the gym, preparing for Brett Harpp tonight. He ran on the treadmill 67 miles in 12 minutes. The guy was running at a fast clip. That's what they said at the gym. He was running at a fast clip. Yeah, go figure. Ryan C., how are you? Nice to have you here. As we continue on with our roll call, Walter Kochabinski is back. Walter will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Integrationing, nice to have you here. Mike Nation, welcome to SOR Chat. And Panda on Fire, good to see you. Algaray over on Twitch, 1,500 chin-ups in 4.5 minutes. He even took a 30-second water break in between that. Good job tonight, Algaray. That's moving the muscles. Matthew Goodka, nice to have you here as we scroll on down on our roll call side. J. True Seeker, nice to see you. East Coast Turnaround on X, thank you for popping in. In the studio, good to have you here as well. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are jumping into the paranormal pool tonight. Brett Harpp is here. They call her the haunted therapist. We're going to find out why coming up momentarily. On our YouTube side, we are in roll call right now, so the show will start in about 45 seconds. Fat Nuts, how are you tonight? Nice to have you here. MJ, good to see you. And Dr. Bob, Jessica S. Nice to have you here. All right, scrolling on down. Who is next here? Millennium, my man. Nice to have you here. And I think we are caught up. Yeah, Jaquetta. Trying to hide there, but we got her. Jaquetta is here. Operation Shutdown as well. 15 seconds. The super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show coming at you tonight. We're going to learn about the haunted therapist, Brett Harpp. She will be our guest tonight, coming up momentarily. Why? Well, we got to figure out what this haunted therapist is. What people actually need therapy after ghost hunts? Wouldn't surprise me. We're going to find out. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for another spooky story. Then we got the Q&A. Extra small Lee Strauss will be here. And we'll get her going. We'll get her going. We'll have some fun. All right. Let's bring her on in, shall we? Well, first, we're going to introduce you. Brett Harpp is a LMHC-D. See, in my journalism skills, I have to read what the letters say. She's a hip. She works with people. She's known as the haunted therapist. She is a licensed mental health counselor and trauma therapist who helps people heal from emotional haunts, the lingering memories, experiences, and unresolved trauma that continue to influence us long after they have passed. With a compassionate, grounded approach, Brett works with clients to safely explore the internal landing scopes shaped by past experiences. What kind of experiences are those? We're going to find out. She offers tools to bring understanding, relief, and lasting emotional healing, and blending evidence-based therapies such as EMDR and parts work with powerful paranormal metaphors. Brett uniquely reframes trauma as something that can be acknowledged rather than feared by exploring how the ghosts of the past show up in the thoughts, behaviors, and emotional responses, and helps clients integrate these experiences instead of being controlled by them. Well, that's going to be an amazing show. Let's tap into her brain. Brett Harpp, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Thank you so much, Dave. I'm so excited to be here. And hi, Spaced Out Radio fam. What do you call your listeners? Do you have a name?
I call them the Space Travelers. They're my
Space
space
travelers.
travelers.
Okay. Space travelers and haunted hearts. All welcome. All unite. I'm super excited to be here.
Very excited to have you here as well. I want to learn your paranormal journey. How did this all begin?
Okay, I actually have whiplash from how this all came to be. And, I don't have like a childhood origin story. I feel like everybody, not everybody, but so many people who are in the paranormal community say that they started as a child, that they had hauntings or they experienced things like that. I really didn't. I mean, I walked in on The Exorcist, somebody watching The Exorcist at the wrong time. Not that there's a right time to walk in on that movie, especially when you're little. And that movie haunted me. But when I was little, I was more interested in the beyond, right? Like outer space, and not even so much like aliens, but just what is eternity and what's on the other side of the universe. Where does it end? I still think about that. It still keeps me up at night. So it's not so much that, I got into it in childhood. I got a little bit more into it in teenagehood. Um, but again, not any real like spooky experiences. I kind of just like brought myself there, right? Like getting into paranormal psychology and metaphysics and learning about meditation and transcendental meditation, reading Be Here Now by Ram Dass, and books like The Teachings of Don Juan by Carlos Castaneda, which if anybody knows about that, those are very paranormal, but it's more about like shamans and cultural traditions in that sense. So that's my origin story, not so much my paranormal origin story. But when I graduated high school, I moved to Seattle and had all kinds of mystical doors of perception experiences when I lived out there. And I remember when I lived out west, because then I bought a Volkswagen van and I moved down to, as one does when they live out west, which you already do. So I live in Buffalo now. So speaking to my crew here, they're probably like, okay, crazy lady. So I bought a Volkswagen camper bus and I decided I wanted to move to, or at least see Oregon, because that's where I was born.
Right.
And the Volkswagen caught on fire, as camper buses tend to do. Apparently, the engine is in the back. So I saw this smoke everywhere and I got out, and I was young. I was only like 19 at the time. So I'm like looking for my insurance card. Like I'm going to call an insurance company instead of like 911. And so I stayed, just rode my bike everywhere. I stayed for 3 more years. And that's where I was supposed to be. I was taking like Kundalini yoga and I had all kinds of Kundalini awakenings. There is some haunted stuff in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness. We were talking about that earlier and you really jogged my memory. Like, I think it's Jedediah Smith State Park in Northern California. I remember going there, and that's where they filmed the Ewok scene in Star Wars.
Yes.
Okay. So I that was maybe the first voice I ever heard. And it wasn't even in English. I still remember what it said, On Tiki Tagua. I have no idea what that means. I've tried to look it up, but I heard it as soon as I stepped into the redwood forest. So I was like, okay, hello to you too, sir. I don't know what you just said.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I'd probably still be out west, peddling my poetry books outside of Powell's bookstore or something, if I didn't feel this really strong call to, I guess, a more grounded worldly experience too. Oh, so that's what I was going to say. So, I would go outside and look at the full moon and feel this calling to like a more spiritual life. And at the time, I was like, God, I just want to live this spiritual life and travel everywhere and have all these experiences. But I also felt called to like this grounded, nose to the grindstone. There's something I got to do in this meat suit of mine, in this worldly pursuit. But I didn't know at the time that you could have both. I thought you had to choose one or the other. So in choosing the other, I moved back east, as one does when you have to be quickly snapped back into, the steel town of Buffalo, grounded reality, nose to the grindstone, get a job. So here I am. And from there, I studied theater and dance, and that taught me about the body being able to tell stories. And then I ended up with a communication degree because I had 12 other things I was studying. So communication just kind of summed it all up. So I learned about how the body keeps a score and tells stories. And I learned, yeah, all kinds of things. And then I ended up on my pursuit to clinical mental health counseling. So that's how that part.
Wonderful. How did the tie into the paranormal happen once you got your degree?
Okay, so that didn't happen until I've been doing counseling for about 12 years, mental health counseling for about 12 years. And I noticed a couple things. You notice patterns about people when you work in this field and about mental health, but you also pay attention and kind of notice patterns about yourself. And a couple things I notice is the way that I would listen. So obviously I'm listening to people. I have to diagnose, I have to do treatment plans. I'm listening to them, active listening, reflecting, but I'm also listening like beyond what they're saying and almost just hearing them, hearing their spirit, hearing what they're not saying. And the more I started to tune into that, it was like I was having this symbiotic, spiritual, resonant kind of moment with most of my clients. And I started having psychic experiences with them. Like somebody would tell me they just bought a new house and they were explaining where a room was or something. And I already knew what they were going to say before they said it. And that's not something I would just say, like that's got nothing to do with their treatment or anything. So I kept it to myself. But I did start to notice that picking up stronger and stronger for me, being more psychic or intuitive or whatever you want to call it. So that's that part. And then the other part is I noticed that I speak in metaphors a lot. In a very poetic way. And I took clinical or hypnotherapy
Right.
through ASH. And they taught us that speaking in metaphors actually helps to, especially for trauma survivors, helps to bypass the frontal lobe or the frontal cortex or whatever guy is up there, protecting the rest. Bypass that and get quicker to the subconscious mind. So it's just a way to poetically ease yourself into the idea of bigger language and language having to do with healing. And the metaphors that I was using were almost entirely paranormal, which we all do, right? Like I'm haunted by my past, or that thing still haunts me or whatever.
Right.
But I noticed I was really doing it. Like your mind is a haunted house. There's rooms in your mind you don't want to go into. And because I do a lot of work with trauma survivors, I talk a lot about how flashbacks are like a residual haunting, because memory or trauma gets stored in the brain in kind of like a different way. It's like kind of like you took too big of a bite of a sandwich and it gets lodged in your throat and it just kind of stays there and doesn't get dissolved or digested. So it gets stuck in time. And that's kind of way trauma is, which I think is what residual haunting is. I'm new to this. I'm a baby paranormal person. I'm new blood. Like I've only been doing paranormal stuff literally since the summer, actual ghost hunts and things like that. All the other stuff came first.
I love it. And the fact that you are able to combine your career, your education, to delving into something that is a little bit more macabre. I mean, it seems so polar opposite, but a lot of people would equate, in my opinion, these trauma paranormal events probably with life happenings as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. People really resonate with that, with the idea that we're being haunted by our past. Like I said, it's something that a lot of people say. And that, in addition to that, I decided, let's see, one of the podcasts that I listen to, besides yours, of course, Dave, my new favorite podcast is, do you remember There was a show on like 20 years ago called The Girls Next Door with Bridget Marquardt and Holly Madison. It was about the
Yes.
Playboy Mansion. So
Yes.
Bridget actually has her own podcast too called The Ghost Bunny. And I was like, I found her again one day. I was like, oh my God, I remember her from this show and how cool she's into the paranormal too. And I heard on her show that over the summer, this woman, Tawny Lewis, who is pretty well renowned in the paranormal field, psychic medium, paranormal investigator, she was going to go to Lilydale, which is one of the largest or the largest spiritual community in the United States. Do you know about Lilydale?
I've heard of it.
So it's only about 45 minutes from me, and psychic mediums live there. It's like this cool little village that people live in and do readings and everything. So they were actually going to do, or Tawny was supposed to do a ghost hunt there, paranormal investigation, and do like some psychic workshops and trainings and things like that. So I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. I'll go. And Bridget was there, and I had no idea she was going to be there, but it was so cool because literally my first paranormal investigation was at Lilydale with the ghost bunny herself, Bridget Marquardt. Full circle moment for my life, completely balancing the two worlds, pop culture, grounded in this world, but also head in the clouds type thing.
Since you've stepped into this paranormal world, what have you learned about yourself?
That's a great question because there's two things going on. It's not just the paranormal world where I'm learning things about myself, but it's also doing my podcast where I'm learning all kinds of things about myself too. And my podcast is all about haunted healing and things like that. Part of my entry into the paranormal was my own grief. I lost my mother about 10 years ago next month. And it's not so much that I was like, oh, I'm going to go look for her spirit, or even that I want to do this because I need evidence of the afterlife to heal my grief. I think it was more through the lens of I need to get okay with death in some kind of way because I miss her terribly and because I have a son. And I need to understand that this is also part of life and that it's okay. So instead of feeling afraid of death, you can almost fold it into the fabric of your life, the idea of it anyways. So
I'm going to stop you right there because you bring up a very important concept. I am absolutely paranoid of death. Paranoid. I have had more encounters and experiences that I should be like 100% convinced that there's nothing to worry about. But it scares the daylights out of me. Absolutely scares the daylights out of me to the point where, like, even you talking about it, I feel my anxiety growing about that because now it's like, oh my God, like, what if this is real? What if it's not? What am I going to do? What if there is no afterlife? What if there is? How do I control it? Am I going to be able to be there? It's the whole like left-handed concept to me.
So for you, it's the fear of what comes next, kind of, or what
Absolutely.
we don't know what comes next. So, and I think that that's a very common fear of not, the unknown or letting go of control. I feel like I'm more afraid of not living anymore because I kind of love life.
That's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
it is? Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like what's so kind of like if I could time travel, I wouldn't go back in time. I would go into the future. Like I want to know what's going to happen. It's kind of cool. It's kind of crazy here, but it's kind of amazing, and what are our kids going to be doing and all of that stuff. So it's not,
Oh,
yeah, it's the ultimate FOMO.
I think that I know where it began because I always had a fear of death. Okay. But I think I know exactly where it began. When my daughter, who just turned 27 last week, when she was an infant, like only a couple months old, I remembered rocking her to sleep. And I told her that she had nothing to worry about because daddy will be with her forever. And it was that forever word that absolutely triggered me. And I literally had like a massive anxiety attack over it because I just lied to my little girl, like I'm going to die one day and I'm not going to be there for her. And I just lied to her. And I'm like, I started freaking out. Like it was heavy emotional for me.
Mm. But then you had all kinds of experience that have showed you otherwise?
Yes, I have. Okay, I'll tell you a story that's happened to me. We got about 3.5 minutes to go. Okay. This one, when I when I got into the paranormal field, I had my first kick in the butt, okay, was literally seeing the angel of death in my mother's eyes. And then 2 hours later, I channeled him. I never knew what channeling was, but I channeled him and he told me how to keep my mom alive. And I'm keeping the story short because of time here. Okay. And I got another. When did my mom pass? 2023. Holy cow. Wow. Um, yeah. So I got another 12 years out of my mom, and she would have never met my son if I didn't follow the rules.
Wow, that's so
Okay. And
beautiful.
then 6 months later, my partner's grandmother, we were called to the hospice where she was, and she was like 94, 95 years old. She had a good run. And I'm literally standing at like when we walked into the room, I could feel the angel of death because when you have something like that happen, all of a sudden you're like totally immersed in recognizing the energy of it all.
Mm.
Okay. And I recognized the second I walked in that door to her room, I recognized the energy that he was in there. And I was taunting him. I was like, come on, show me where you are. Like I'm trying to tell. Here's my brain at the time. I'm like trying to telepathically communicate with the angel of death. Show me where you are. I know you're here. Why don't you just show yourself? What do you have to hide? Show me. Show me. And then literally about 9 minutes before grandma took her final breath, I'm standing at the foot of her bed. Her feet are maybe about 7 inches away from me. I got my wife on my right hand side, and all of a sudden, I watched her spirit come out of her body.
Come on.
I did. And I got it was like if you took a football, but you stretched it out, and it was like a swirl. And all of a sudden, I get this message in my head that says, is this what it's about? Is this what you wanted to see? And then boom, that spirit shot right through the roof or the ceiling, and his energy was gone, she was gone, and I went, "Holy bleep," right in
Yeah.
front of all the family. And I started laughing. And so I got out of the room, and my wife's, she's crying because she's losing her grandma, right? And I'm like, "You're not gonna believe this." I said, "She's gone." She's like, "No, she's still breathing. We have a chance." I said, "Honey, I actually literally saw her spirit just leave her body. She's not there." And I was like, "I can't believe this."
I
And
think
like 9 minutes later, she breathed her final breath.
it's stories like that too that I'm happy to be able to help people with, right? And I know we have to take a break, so I'm gonna follow your lead there, but that brings up a really interesting point too, is not just looking at paranormal metaphorically through, the lens of trauma and things like that, but also the people that I'm able to help because after I go through, and weed out any kind of diagnoses or anything like that that might be going on, then we can roll like and talk
Yeah.
about things like that. Yeah.
Well, we could do that when we get back for the break because it is that time. I'm loving our guest tonight, everybody. Brett Harpp, the haunted therapist. What happens when we help the transition to the next life? This is going to be cool. I can't wait. This is Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear. Good times. Good job.
It's so funny. I hear you we're struggling with my name a little bit, which literally my name sounds like the wrestler Bret the Hitman
Hart.
Hart.
Yeah.
Yes. It's why I got married to my husband, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like I needed some kind of star in my name. Why not WWE? Why
I
not?
didn't notice.
All of my names have a lot of stories to them. My first name, very uncommon. My middle name, Moonstone. If that tells you anything about, the log cabin that my parents were hand hewing in Northern California when I was born.
I have a famous Brett who actually listens to the show.
A boy, I'm sure, a man.
Girl.
Shut up. Hi,
She's
Brett.
famous.
Hi, famous
She was
Brett.
famous. She had her own television show in the 90s.
Oh my God. Brett Butler?
Yes.
I
Extremely
reference her.
psychic too.
You're kidding. Oh my God. Hi, Brett Butler. I reference you when I have to defend myself and
She's
defend
not
my name.
She's not in the room tonight. I'm not going to give up her YouTube name.
Well, she's psychic. I could totally still say hi to her.
Yes. Hi, Jeff Steve Garvey. He'll hit a home run for you. If you all of a sudden hear me call out a name, I'm saying hi to the people in the office, in the chat room.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Amanda thinks you're absolutely beautiful.
Thank you, Amanda. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a compliment. I love a girl's girl.
Yeah, Hillbilly Herb, you wouldn't believe how many times Brett Butler has been in our chat room and you guys don't even know. This I've often said, like, I know her, but I've often wondered how many other famous people have listened to the show and come into the chat room. But, they're under a pseudonym, obviously, because they want to be treated like they're normal. But I've always wondered, like, in all the listeners that we have, like, is there anybody like
lurking,
time famous or anything like that? Signs of Life, how are you? So it's kind of cool. It's my own little geek out session. Like if I had somebody famous, whether it's an athlete or movie star or rock star listening in, I wouldn't say who it was, but if I found out who it was, I'd be like, so giddy. It would be kind of cool,
You have your own privacy rules that you have to stick to, as obviously do I.
Yeah.
Very much so. So
Yes.
It's something you have yours too.
I do. Amy Vegas. Oh, how are you? We'll see you in 4 months, my dear. 4 months. Vegas party, people. May 21st to 25th. Be there. Don't know where yet, but damn it, we're going to be there. The Unknown, how are you? Yeah, that wasn't the real Tom DeLong in our chat room, by the way. I ripped him too much. He'd never come in here. Paul the Fost, how are you? We got about 90 seconds to go, Brett. All right, big thank you tonight so far to Deanna and T-Bone, my man, for the great super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. If you could, do me a favor, give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms. And if you're new here, do us a favor, hit subscribe, hit that bell. And if you're listening on any other social media platform like X or anything else, give us a follow. It would help. We appreciate it. I don't ask for much, but just do it. Damn it, do it.
Damn it.
Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got the power of that.
It sounded almost like you had some GERD going on there.
I know.
I have a button. I have a button that I can press. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, people. Let me tell you why. We do not have ugly swag. Nothing ugly at our store. You can actually wear our clothing in public and be proud to wear it because there's nothing ugly. People will say, damn, that's a good looking shirt or jacket or even a ball cap. Go check it on out. Here we go, everyone.
You really do have good swag. As a matter of fact, I was going to try to.
We are into the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. We're going all into the paranormal. My name is Dave Scott. Our guest, the haunted therapist, Brett Harpp, who is joining us tonight. Before we bring Brett back in, do me a favor. Go to our archives. Hit subscribe. Ring that bell on YouTube. And you can check us out on any major podcast network. Our archives are always free. I don't want to charge for them. I don't want you paying for them. You pay for enough in life. Listen to this show for free. Why not? It'll kill a couple hours a day. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right. Brett Harpp is here, and she is known as the haunted therapist. We're going to bring her back in. I noticed you were checking out our swag on our website. You're liking it. Nothing ugly there, is there?
Nothing ugly. As a matter of fact, everything's really cool. Like, let's speak in, as a therapist, I want us to speak in positive statements, not negative statements. Like, you know what I mean? It's not that it's not ugly. It's that it's really nice.
I'll tell you why I do that. I'll tell you why.
Okay. I love a self-aware podcast hoster.
Well, it's my radio background that I have. Right? That's why I got the dulcet tones. You know, I got a face for radio, but the voice, oh my God, it'll make you melt like butter. But I'll tell you why I use that slogan, we do not have ugly swag. Because I remember when I first started in SOR and I started the building this and I started investigating, I was really more a paranormal UFO type show. Okay. Still do a lot of UFOs, a lot of cryptids, but paranormal we don't actually do a lot of because I got sick and tired of the teams. You know, all these paranormal teams. If I ever had a guest, I would say about 95% of the guests that I have had back out at the last second have been paranormal teams.
Really?
That's right. That's right.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just something that happens. And then you go to all these paranormal conferences and you see people walking around and the conference shirts are absolutely ugly. Like you buy one to support the conference, but then you put it in that bottom drawer that you will never open again. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to wear it out in public because it's ugly, right? And paranormal teams have all of these ugly team shirts, you know, and you have to have this horrible acronym like ghost or demon or haunted, right? Right. And I just got so sick of it. I'm like, that's ugly. It's dumb. So I decided that when we were promoting the store, I could say, yeah, we got really nice stuff because everybody says that. But I can say nothing's ugly. Nothing's ugly. And you could be actually wearing our stuff in public and be proud to wear it because we have no ugly swag.
Yeah. I'm wearing it right now. You just can't see it.
Me too, actually.
Nice.
I have it underneath my sweater. I have my alien lube shirt because it doesn't have to hurt.
I have mine in spirit. Well, you know, probably maybe a lot of these ghosts, so-called, are actually aliens. Maybe.
Could be. My buddy Merle got a picture of an alien at our haunted museum close by my house.
Oh. So they're much more ready for photographs. Like I feel like ghosts are like no photos, no paparazzi. Whereas now you're seeing somebody you know has a picture of an alien. Like they're much more willing to be photographed. Apparently.
Well, you know, if you catch them on the proper side, you know, they like to be you know, photographed. But before we get into the aliens, because I love a good alien story, I love good alien talk. Tell us about why we shouldn't fear the paranormal or the death that really surrounds it. Because one of the other things that bugs me about paranormal teams, okay, the longtime listeners, they'll already know this. But what bugs me about paranormal teams is they don't know what they're trying to solve. They're playing with ghosts. They have no action or accountability for what mystery they are actually trying to solve. Are they trying to solve life after death? Are they trying to solve what these voices are? Or what are they trying to do? And like I always say, if you ever want to screw up the mind of a paranormal investigator, ask them what they do with their evidence. They can never answer that question.
Really?
Ask it.
They just don't watch hours of footage on end for
Okay.
days after?
Let's role play here for a second. Let's have some fun. Let's role play here.
We
You're
were both
you're the interviewer, and I'm Dave Paranormal. Okay, Dave Paranormal. So I'm on your show, and you say to me,
Oh, hi, Dave.
"What do you do with your evidence?"
Oh, yeah. So what will you do with your evidence, Dave?
We go over it, see if we got anything.
Uh-huh. Okay. What do you do when you find anything that you might have gotten?
Well, we cut it out, maybe put it on YouTube or something.
Okay. And then what?
That's how you screw up a paranormal investigator. They don't know what to do with their evidence. Their
Yeah.
whole entire goal is not to solve a mystery. Their goal is to put evidence on a YouTube or TikTok or Instagram channel.
Do you think that that's because they're trying to help? They're trying to summon some help to get other people to help them figure out what it is, or trying to keep themselves honest? Like, let's bring this evidence, the way science would. It's got to be peer reviewed. It's just that peers happen to be YouTube subscribers.
I would disagree with that because I think it's about clicks and followers now. Look what we got. Look what we captured. Listen to this EVP. Look at that shadow person.
They
Right?
lost the plot.
Exactly.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
this is why, it's funny, but when I have, and I hate to rip on paranormal people because there are some amazing people in this field doing good work. Okay. And I'm not saying that you have to have a goal of trying to solve the mystery of life after death or what keeps a spirit around or what they actually are, because we don't really know what a ghost is. We don't.
No.
We can assume, but we don't know what a ghost is. So I think for me, like, I have no problem with people going out there and grabbing evidence and putting it on their YouTube channel or TikTok. But don't sit there and say that you're a hardcore paranormal investigator and you're conducting scientific experimentation on the paranormal when you haven't done anything scientific since high school because you were forced to in class. Right? So it's just a pet peeve.
Yeah.
It's a pet peeve
Go
that's
on.
like fingers down a chalkboard.
Yeah, go off. Is that different in the extraterrestrial communities or the cryptid communities? Yeah, it
There's
is kind of, actually, as I'm saying it, because I don't come across a lot of that. Now that you're saying it, I don't come across as much.
You have your people out there who who will go sky watching, and all they want to do is catch a video of a UFO. That's cool. Go for it. Absolutely. Hey, I ran a ghost tour at our local museum to raise money for the museum. I caught some really cool photos. Okay. And I share them around. Oh, hey, look at this photo of this ghost. Look at this ghost. Okay. But I'm not trying to solve any mysteries. I'm there for the entertainment factor, the spook factor of it all. Okay. I'm not there trying to be something that I'm not, which is A, a researcher, B, an investigator, and sure as hell know that I'm not C, a scientist.
Yeah. Well, and
So-
I know that's because you asked me, what am I not getting out of it, but what is it doing for me to be in this, right? So I'm in it for a good time. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm
Absolutely.
trying to get a little electrified here. Like, I need the dopamine. I have ADHD. So, ooh, sorry. I don't know if that was loud. I need it to be, I like adventure, and I've always liked the dark, seedy back rooms of life, if you will, which that's what this is when you're going into a haunted building where everything's falling apart. Well, supposedly haunted building where everything's falling apart. You're not very above board with things necessarily. People look at you kind of sideways. But
Yeah.
it's interesting too because it puts you in touch with some of your other senses. You can't see really all that good. There's
100%.
not much to hear. So now
100%.
you're forced to rely on other senses, and which is something that happens when and this is there's aspects of this that are scientific, right? Like when one sense does dull, other senses will rise up to the challenge. I have a client who is deaf in one ear. Not a client, oh my God, a colleague who's deaf in one ear and hears like a baby out of this ear, but in this ear, she hears her spirit guides in the
That's
deaf.
amazing.
So that's just interesting. It's like, the volume gets louder in another dimension when this one
Mhm.
dims. And that's what it feels like when you're paranormal investigating, I guess. I don't really fully know. As I stated, I'm a baby in this field. I'm fresh blood or whatever you want to call it. But I am finding that I'm a little bit of what I've now call a paranormal cooler. Like, the coolers in Vegas where you go up to the table and everybody starts losing. Not that I have bad luck, but I just feel like everybody else is feeling, "Oh my God, did you feel that?" And I'm just like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm just having a good time. So I don't know. I still have a lot of work to do when it comes to my sixth sense, let's say.
No, but I think that's cool though, because you're learning.
I'm
You're
learning.
learning. But
Never
please,
too old.
from an educational perspective, as you delve more into the paranormal, and trust me, after doing this show, there's going to be a bunch of paranormal people who come up to you. Hey, do you want to come on my podcast? You want to come on my podcast? Go for it. Have some fun with it. But do me a favor, as you meet more paranormal people, ask them point blank, what do you do with your evidence? You you will be amazed. Not to put them down, okay, but just to figure
Yeah.
out the field for yourself, okay?
Like, and to figure out why we're doing this, right?
Absolutely.
We're talking about grief and grieving, and we both lost our mothers, and what is on the in the afterlife, and can we be okay with death because we're our FOMO that we have and everything like that. But you always want to go into any situation and decide why are you here? What is it that you're trying to get out of it? Even if it's just a comfort like today, what are you and I trying to get out of this right now? Which clearly we both, I think, just like to talk. That's the vibe that I'm getting. Like it feels really good to talk about stuff with like-minded folks, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's
And
why, like, I'm going to the UFO con in San Francisco, and I'm going the following month to the Nebraska Bigfoot conference. And one of the things that I love about it is there's nothing better for me as a host of a radio show is when somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, can I tell you my story?" I mean,
oh, nice.
the
Yeah.
they just want they people just want somebody to believe them. They want somebody to tell their story to because maybe they've kept it locked up for years, or maybe they got ridiculed and laughed at
Yes.
about their experience, and they just want somebody to say, "I believe you." That is such a healing method.
Yes. That's literally you're speaking my language. That's what I do. Not just in this field, but like any problem that somebody has, right? It's just about listening and validating. It's about the shared stories and the shared meaning and how we fold that into the narrative of our lives. And like I said earlier, once, when I'm working with a client, once I rule out any kind of diagnosis that might be going on, or, factor in any environmental things they have going on. Is there a gas leak at your house? Is there black mold or whatever it is that causes people to have hallucinations sometimes outside of mental health? Then if that's all aside, then let me help you then let me hear your story, because listening to somebody's story is very validating for them, as is going on paranormal investigations at times. Um,
Mhm.
you know, there's actually um, research out there that shows that spooky activities can be really good for your mental health
Oh,
because
tell me about this. You gotta tell me about this.
so and especially for even for trauma survivors, as long as that person is grounded and resourced and has a good support team, putting your nervous system through frights and jumps and scares and things like that, you know, that is exposure therapy in a sense. And it's something you're choosing to do, which for a lot of trauma survivors, they didn't get a choice for whatever it is that happened to them. So now you get a choice. You choose to enter this haunted building. You choose to watch the scary movie. And there's a clear beginning and a clear end to it. In fact, you can end it anytime you want. You can pause it. You can leave. Unless, it's your own house. If it's your own house that's haunted, then that's a little more complicated. But you can still certainly leave. But yeah, there's an end to it. And having an end to a story is really, really important for anybody when they're struggling. If it's anxiety, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Okay. And let's go case scenario. If it does, then what? Ground and resource. You're going to be okay. You have these skills. You've gotten through it before and you're okay. Or what if that bad thing doesn't happen? What if something really good happens? It's an end to the story. It's a period at the end of a sentence instead of just a run-on kind of disaster narrative in your mind.
When people have come to you about the fact that they may be haunted by some sort of spirit or they receive some sort of trauma due to paranormal activity, how do you deal with that?
It depends on the level of the haunting and if it's currently active, if it's still happening, if it's something that happened in the past, which that's mostly most of my clients, very few percentage of my clients are dealing with this, but the ones that have dealt with this was because of things that happened in childhood. And that's a trauma. And when we have early trauma, it actually changes the way the brain learns how or is able to learn and take in new information. Like it actually changes again. Here I go trying to name the lobes of the brain, but it changes, I think, the frontal lobe and how you're able to learn. If anybody knows, please chime in. So what's interesting about that to me is so many people that I've met, whether it's clients or, you know, paranormal folks, have had early traumatic experiences. It seems like there's a correlation between early childhood trauma and an interest in the paranormal and especially identifying as intuitive or psychic or medium. I think and I don't know for sure, but my theory is because early trauma changes the way you're able to learn. So maybe let's say like it stops developing this lobe here. Well, maybe that means that this lobe here develops even a little bit more than somebody who didn't have trauma. So that's interesting to me. And maybe this lobe here is actually more in tuned with the sixth sense, with something that's more unknown or unseen. So the way that we can work with that is validating it through even just neuroscience, because those things might actually be true. And also, if it's something that's still plaguing them, there's still a residual haunting, if you will. If there's still trauma, flashbacks, things like that, maybe they're afraid now to go do certain things, not necessarily scary things, paranormal things, but just put themselves in a situation where they don't feel entirely sure of all the variables, then we can do EMDR, which EMDR is a fantastic intervention for trauma, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It's one of the top interventions for trauma aside from exposure therapy. They use it at the VA, the Department of Defense, whatever. Um, so we just treat it like another memory. This is something that happened to you. Your bed was moving. You felt something tug on your ankles. You thought something was in your closet. It doesn't matter. Trauma is not about how bad of a thing happened to you. It's how we're still carrying it.
Right. Now, I can understand that as we got about 4 minutes to go to break. I can understand that with, say, somebody who grew up in some sort of extremely violent paranormal house, or just trauma from being haunted by ghosts and spirits as a kid and maybe into their teenage years, and maybe it did affect the family. You know, it goes a long way for a lot of these cases. Look at the Conjuring movies. They're all based on true stories of what happened to families. Okay, now they're Hollywooded up,
Mhm.
but I remember a good friend of mine, Karen Smurl, from the latest Conjuring movie of the Smurl family. I mean, she told me that some days it was hell in their house, right? And I can see where that would bring an entire emotional payload onto somebody who had to grow up in that house and suffer through the emotions of it all.
Mm.
But what about somebody who's, say, an adult who moves into a haunted house, say at the age of 38,
Uh-huh.
and they've never maybe had a paranormal investigation before or a paranormal encounter before? Well, how does that differ?
They're gonna maybe think they're going crazy. You know what I mean? Because 'Cause they've never experienced anything like that before. So it's about how we judge ourselves too. Like, this shouldn't be happening. Am I going crazy? So again, it's about resourcing and connecting to people who can validate your experience, right? Like, that is one thing that's nice about witnessing things together with someone, is that validation. But again, if they were to present to counseling, it depends on how they're viewing it. It depends on what story they're telling themselves about it. Are they religious? Are they afraid of mental health? Does mental illness run in their family, and so there's a stigma? How are they explaining it spiritually? And still, you can still do EMDR so that you can feel in front of this again and not behind the 8 ball or behind the haunted pool cue.
Okay, so with about 90 seconds to go, about 90 seconds, 2 minutes to go, if there is a stigma behind it and somebody might have some sort of mental health issues outside of the paranormal,
Yeah.
are there health issues, whether it's anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, whatever it may be, even schizophrenia, are those attractants to paranormal activity?
Well, that's what I was saying about the different regions of the brain. Like, maybe if this region of the brain that's responsible for clear thinking or good mental health or what have you, if that one's not as activated, maybe this one that could be more in touch with the paranormal is more activated. So it could be an attractor in that sense, just biologically or neurologically. I don't know. It depends on what kind of spirit we're talking about. Like, there's so many questions to that. Like, does a spirit know if we're in good mental health? I want to know if a spirit knows that we're alive. Like, we have spirits walking around inside of our bodies right now. Does a ghost know that we have a body, or do they just see our spirit? I have questions. I have many questions, more questions than answers, which is
I
good
think it
because
all
I love
depends.
questions.
Okay, so maybe we might have to take this answer into the next half hour. But is it a difference between whether or not you're looking for it? So, for instance, a paranormal investigator is going out and seeking that
Oh, yeah.
compared to somebody who is being affected by it.
Well, that's a good one. Let's definitely save that for after. I love that.
Yeah, I am having a great time tonight with our guest, Brett Harpp. You can find her on TikTok. Yeah, you can. Instagram, you can find her there. Let me tell you where else you can find her. You can find her on YouTube at Haunted Therapist, Spotify, not on X, not on Facebook, Just look for her there. We'll be right back. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Brett. We are going to take about a 5.5 minute break.
Okay.
And I'm going to put you back in the green room. I'm just going to step away for a couple of minutes. We'll be right back. Hey, if everybody wants to know my schedule coming up, there it is. That's where I'll be. We'll see you in a bit. Give us a minute. Dave is back. We got about 90 seconds to go. Let's lose the photo. There we go. Let's bring in Brett. You having fun, Brett?
I'm having so much fun. Oh my gosh. You're
Good.
right. The time is really flying by.
Told you.
Mhm.
It's going to be fun.
I am
Right.
on Facebook too, by the way.
Well, it wasn't in the bio that was provided for me.
Well,
please-
because I didn't provide it initially, and then I got sucked back into Facebook. So now I'm there.
Contrary One, how are you? Nice to see you. Fast Hemi, good to have you here. I think we're kind of. Oh, there's Gary Reed. Welcome. All right. Big thank you to our super chatters tonight, Deanna and T-Bone. Thank you very much for the love and support. Remember, September 18th through 20th, cariboucon.com. You can come join us right here in the Caribou region of the British Columbia for this great event. Grant Cameron will be speaking. The ladies from Beyond the Haunting, Merle, Samantha Mowat, myself, and many others will be in attendance, including Brent Thomas from the Paranormal Podcast. We call him B. Arthur around here because he's golden. He's absolutely golden. So make sure you get your tickets at cariboucon.com. Here we go with the next hour. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in because we are going to have a great second hour with our guest tonight, Brett Harpp, the haunted therapist. Hey, I want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam is set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Palutacalis. Palutacalis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in our guest, Brett Harpp. She is the haunted therapist dealing with paranormal troubles and trauma that people may have from a residual haunting, a haunting long time ago, a haunting that is currently going on. Brett, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. My gosh, so happy.
Right before the break, we were asking you about the difference between, say, somebody who's experienced a haunting and somebody who is chasing down the hauntings, like a paranormal investigator who's going into those paranormal locations. What's the difference in the mentality? What's the difference in what they are seeking?
Consent, right? Like the difference in primarily is consent. And that can be very triggering. Imagine certain trauma survivors who are also being haunted, you know? So that's something are you asking me in terms of what I would do as a therapist or
Yeah.
just what I think philosophically?
Well, let's go both angles because they're both great angles to take.
Like for someone who is experiencing a haunting and not asking for it, then I would have to work with them the way that I would with anybody who's experiencing something. Either, to say it without consent, it has a very heavy connotation to it. So it depends on that person, but we would work with it either like that or just work at it of like, hey man, that's life. Let's resource you and figure out how the afterlife can still be life stuff that happens. For somebody who's experiencing maybe something traumatic because they went on a hunt, and that's something that happened to them, that is a little bit different. But at the same time, it's still about being able to work through trauma. And if it's something that's very traumatic, we use EMDR always, always. It literally changes and reroutes the brain using the brain's adaptive information processing center. Well,
let me ask you this then. From what you have learned in studying the trauma and the effects of everything, both from current paranormal investigators and from people who have suffered from it in the past, is this something that we should be delving into? Should be should we be investigating what goes on in these locations?
Mm,
Is it
well,
healthy?
I
Is it healthy?
is it healthy?
Yeah.
It is healthy in the sense that it keeps our curiosity alive, and there's nothing better for somebody who's experiencing fear or anxiety than staying in a state of curiosity. And if anything, you know, people are in a somewhat constant state of fear and anxiety, even if it's just because of evolution, right? Like we didn't evolve to be able to just relax and think, wow, I'm doing a really great job all of the time. We're always all a little bit on edge, and waking up and trying to iron out some kinks. So to try to stay balanced in that with some curiosity, however that looks, even if it's going on paranormal investigations or UFOs or cryptids, yeah, it keeps us in our childlike state in terms of if as a society need that type of information. That's harder to say. It's harder to say because what will it do for us as a society? Will it bring us all together the way something that could be scary or devastating or life changing does bring people together? And if it's good news, if it changes the way we look at our own lives, which is done for me, being in the paranormal just in the short time has changed the way that I live my life. And I'm so much happier and more fulfilled. Part of that could be the podcast too. But, the convergence of the two, then why not?
Well, I wonder because we really don't know what we're playing with. Like if we look at it from a religious aspect, okay, we don't, we can think that these spirits could be anything from evil entities to demons to anything that is really trying to court us for our soul. Or we could look at it pragmatically and say that even though there are probably demons out there and other types of not so polite entities, that we could be actually communicating with those who have passed on to another world and somehow they've been able to gather their energy to come hang out with us, come speak to us, be around us, especially knowing that we miss them.
And it might not matter at all. We could just be shouting into it. They could be there and we could be shouting into an abyss without the ability to traverse the time-space continuum and go through the layers of the multiverse and reach each other. But does the shouting feel good? Are we having a good time? Is it
I
fun to
don't know.
explore? You know what I mean? Even if we don't find out. Um, I don't know. I'm not much one into thinking that there's evil spirits. I don't. I
But
could I could
isn't
be
that kind of
totally mistaken.
philosophical? Because we all want to think that there is life after death. Okay, a lot of scientists and scientific people may not agree with that. But for the majority of us out there, whether we prescribe or subscribe to religion or not today, or any sort of religious belief, the one thing we all have hope for is that maybe, just maybe, this isn't the final, one and done, where it's not, be born to die kind of thing, right? That there is something more to this with Mother Earth and the gods above.
Mhm. And I've met plenty of people who are very happy, who really believe that this is it, that it's just a decaying animal, that when we our bodies collapse and go into the earth, that's it, like a mushroom or something. And they're not hopeless. They think that that's okay. Like that just can't be me. I don't know. I'm more of a seeker, and I definitely think that there's more to life, and dogs can see things that we can't see. Let's be serious.
What do you think then about the afterlife? What do you think a ghost is?
What do I think a ghost is? I don't know. I think it could be energy. I don't think it has to be a deceased human. I think it could be energy from another realm seeping into this realm. I think it could be an alien. I think that it's probably a lot of times an alien, honestly.
Really?
Yeah,
Why do you think that?
don't know. I told you at the beginning of the episode, I'm outer space girl. I don't know. It's just a feeling that I get. I can't even explain. And I haven't done any exploration in that field. Like I said, I jumped in just investigating Lilydale with the ghost bunny.
See, I don't know if I buy that it is alien, but I do buy the fact that there is something going on, that there is something real intriguing about what is truly out there. I don't think we'll ever get the answers. I don't think that the phenomenon itself wants us to have the answers. It toys with us a little bit, putting us on these mysteries. You know, it's like, to me, if you look at a tree that doesn't have any leaves in the fall, and it has branches going all over the place in all different directions, to me, that's the paranormal. That's the phenomena, because there are so many different paths that you could take. I don't think you're wrong. I believe that some of them are extraterrestrial, but I also believe there's different avenues that we haven't been able to figure out. What if we're the ghosts to them, but they're on their timeline?
Mm-hmm. I love that theory, actually. Yeah, because it's all about timelines, I think, too. Because we don't know if time is even linear or not, I think. I don't think that that's actually been proven, if time is linear or if it's a loop.
Could be.
And, like, what even is a thought? So to bring it back to mental health a little bit, like if I were to wheel an fMRI machine in here and hook my brain up to electrodes and cast it out for everybody to see, you would see different regions of my brain lighting up depending on what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking about or what I'm watching. My pleasure centers are very lit up right now, Dave. But you wouldn't be able to see the thought itself, right? Like, so what even is a thought if not a ghost of energetic activity in the brain?
Is it that possibly, that our mind, because we don't know how to use the full potential of it, our brain and our mind, is it the possibility that a lot of this is mindful and we just haven't unlocked the power? Whether it's astral travel, like a lot of people at night will astral travel. They don't even know. Many people believe dreams are about astral traveling. Okay, so could it be the brain and the mind because we haven't unlocked its potential, or more so, we've probably closed off the potential due to societal norms, that we are not, or that we are experiencing this as paranormal phenomena when realistically it's natural?
Well, it's similar to what you were saying about what's the difference between being haunted and seeking out the haunting. Oh my God, I totally lost the thought. What were you just saying?
Well, just about the brain itself not being unlocked to the experience.
Yeah, it's like some of these things are happening to us without our consent, if you want to say it that way. And if we could unlock the brain, then maybe some of these things would be happening, as you say, because we're seeking them out. But then, as you started to say earlier, the things that we do seek out changes, the observer changes the observed, right? Like that's a scientific truism. So even as we're seeking it out, it's probably changing form because we're trying to observe it.
How do we know? Okay, so to kind of ask a silly question about that, then how do we know what we're seeing or experiencing?
Well, at this point, I think we should just be collecting data, right? That's why I see, like, I think too many people land on answers too quickly, which is normal, which is natural, which is actually something you want the brain to do. You know, you don't want to just be out there loosey-goosey, just taking it all in. But we don't value questions or linger on the question enough. And I think that's kind of what, not to talk about religion, but that's kind of what religion gets wrong a little bit, is like, this is what it is. And then those or what beliefs get wrong, I should say, not even just religion, but like, that's what beliefs can be limiting. And you think you have the answer, but really, what do you have? You just have more questions.
Very true. But isn't that what we're doing though? And so basically, if I get this correct, would it be wrong for me to say you would like to see, as you delve more into this, you've only been doing this, about a year, half a year to a year. Would it be wrong for me to say then that we need to be able to figure out where we're going with this to unlock the power of the process that's happening?
Yes. You do want to know where you're going, right? Like we were talking about earlier, you want to know what you're trying to get out of it. There needs to be a heading at the top of the paper to know what it is that we're writing our thesis about. But all the rest of it is just maybe gathering and presenting data. Otherwise, you're affecting the outcome.
Wouldn't that be manifestation?
Well, sure, if you want to take a word, but the connotations for manifestation is more just like energetic, like I manifested this talk with you, versus I manifested the meaning of life. I don't know. It's interesting.
It's totally interesting.
Yeah.
And that's why I still think it gets back to the fact of we don't really know what we're investigating.
We don't know. Nobody knows what they're doing. Even, in your 9 to 5, when you're driving to work with your coffee, you have no idea what you're doing. It's just ants marching. It's about making meaning. It's about the meaning that you make with the people that you want to make the meaning with.
I love that. So in other words, we're complicating rather than accepting the situation.
Acceptance is a really hard thing to do, especially if it involves disappointment. Disappointment is one of the hardest. There's like 5 basic human emotions, and disappointment is one of them. Everything else is just like a layer above those 5. Like they say, anger is not really emotion. There's usually something underneath it. It's not the base emotion. Disappointment is one of the hardest base emotions to accept or to sit with. And the process to that is just through simple acceptance or radical acceptance.
Oh, you're hitting home with that one. You are hitting home with that one, young lady.
Acceptance.
Oh my God.
It's a tough one. It's really hard because then there's nothing to do. And we always want to do something with a feeling. It's like, oh, I'm having a strong feeling. I need to do something about it. And disappointment and acceptance are good examples of that, but that's what creates addiction and bad behavior.
Okay. I'm going to throw out a different scenario at you right now. And it's a personal scenario. In 2024, I started getting haunted by a location. I would literally have dreams at night and daydreams thoughts during the day of this location saying, it's time for you to come back. When are you coming back? And it would show me images of it. Is that something that would have been internalized because of my trauma to what had happened there in the past? Or would that be the location actually speaking to me saying, we're not done yet?
what would be more powerful for you to believe?
You're not allowed to answer that one with a question.
I'm a
Well, I
therapist.
guess you could technically, but you know,
Yeah, I
um,
do that a lot in my field of work.
I really don't know. I think it's a combination of both, to be blunt. Because I swore that I would never go there again.
Mm.
And then what was it, about 5 months later, 6 months later, it started haunting me. And I had this entire talk with the phenomena, whatever's there, saying, okay, these are the rules and guidelines. Like I will never go there alone. I will be armed with pointy sticks that go boom, boom. Okay. I will, you know, I will, well, it's in the middle of a forest.
They go
I got a lot,
pew, pew,
I got a
pew.
lot of animals up here that want to hurt you, right?
Yeah. Oh, true, true.
So like we're in grizzly bear territory.
Oof.
We're in mountain lion territory, right? And this place, it basically, it felt like it was haunting me. And only recently, as in like the last 48 hours, 72 hours, it started again. When are you coming back?
Mm.
We're waiting for you.
Well, one thing you can do is work through that in therapy and treat it. So give it the benefit of the doubt, treat it like it's a residual haunting is what I call flashbacks. Treat it like that and see what happens. If you really have gone through the process of reprocessing something and digesting it and healing it, and it's still happening, then I would say it's the location, which I didn't know locations could haunt you. That's interesting.
I'll give you a quick rundown. So we only got about 2 minutes left. In 2023, we had at this location, we had Sasquatch all around us. We had a UFO landing. We had aliens walking through the trees. Then we went back a year later and we were surrounded by Sasquatch who literally got really, really close. We couldn't see them. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And basically they followed us out right to our vehicles. And when we left, they started whistling high pitched at us.
Whistle?
And that is what scared me. I said I would never go back again. I would never camp there again. And then all of a sudden, last November 2024, it started haunting me. The location, when are you coming back? Come on back.
Mhm. So it's being very suggestive and trying to lure you back.
Indeed.
So I guess you have to decide also what would feel more powerful to you in the sense of heeding that call or suggestion, or would it be very validating for you to yourself to set that boundary and say, thank you so much.
Oh, I
I'm busy
fed it.
all of those days.
I totally fed. I went back about 14. I went back about 14, 15 times. And it's now, I haven't been back since November. And now it's calling me back again.
Well, it sounds like
can't wait.
passion. It sounds like you're passionate about it. Like, what if that's your own voice calling you?
No, it's definitely not my voice. It's definitely them.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever is there is calling me because they put us through the ringer last time. Okay. Including what could have been a skinwalker or Wendigo trying to lure us into the forest. That was kind of creepy. Mimicking human voices. Help me. I'm over here. Can you help me?
The forest can be very scary, like I said, or very creepy.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to get you to hold on. Bret Hart, we have her for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
If you go onto my YouTube channel sometime when you and hubby are bored,
Yeah.
you can check out on our playlist. We have a playlist called Secrets of the Forest. And there is a bunch of videos, about a dozen videos that we did
Okay.
at this location. The Sasquatch there, unbelievable. It is so cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So when I did live out west, we were camping in the Olympic Peninsula, like the rainforest. And we camped a lot. Like we were hikers. That's what you do when you live out there. And this one night though, we literally ditched our tent. It's still up there, maybe. I don't know, probably not. It's been a long time. But we heard what could only be described as like a howler monkey, I guess, but one that you would see like like National Geographic, things that don't live there.
You got Bigfooted.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay. I'm telling you, it was not like a sound I've ever heard before. I mean, if I was in Africa or something, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a monkey of some kind, or wherever monkeys live.
Yeah. No, that's totally Sasquatch. I've only had something like that happen once, where we were in my other Sasquatch area. We had a sighting of about a 10-foot creature. And after he vanished, we literally heard his friend in the background. I call him Ric Flair, because literally way off in the distance, about 15 minutes after this guy disappeared, we hear this woo way off in the distance. And
That's
then about 15 minutes after that, we hear woo again. And then it was closer. So it was like he was coming closer. Like we were surrounded that night. It was phenomenal.
That is
Absolutely phenomenal.
incredible. That's literally exactly what it sounded like, Dave.
Oh yeah. But the Sasquatch that we were playing with at this other location, God, there was nothing like it. And you would get these almost, I'm going to people call it mind speak. I prefer call it like telepathy. You'd get these telepathic communications where all of a sudden, like we'd be in their area and you'd all of a sudden get this telepathic communication. Okay, guys, it's time for you to go back to your camp, to your base camp. This is our territory now. So we'd appreciate if you went back. And okay, time to go. Right? Mm-hmm. It is phenomenal. Like the creatures there are so genuinely curious. They've gotten close to us. They've probably, I don't know how close personally, but sound wise, we have heard them probably within 30, 35 yards.
Did you see the movie Sasquatch
No.
Sunset?
No.
Oh, it's really funny. You have to see it. It's quite good.
So I love it.
And you don't think that that's some form of alien life?
I don't know what it is.
Oh, that's fair.
I don't believe it's a flesh and blood creature that's related to Gigantopithecus or anything like that. But I do believe it is flesh and blood, but I think it has supernatural capability as well.
You're saying words that make me feel like I'm back in school again, filled with shame that I was supposed to do some kind of reading or homework, and I haven't done it, and I have no idea what you just said. Copernicus?
Well, put it this way. If you and hubby want a road trip up here, I will take you to that spot.
Oh, done.
Yeah.
100% done. I need to
Yeah.
make my way back there anyways.
Absolutely. I would take you to that spot.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And it's creepy. It's awesomely creepy.
Yeah.
Hold on, here we go. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in as we have the haunted therapist, Brett Harpp, here for another 30 minutes. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. The only thing I want in return is hit follow, hit subscribe. Costs you nothing. Costs you nothing. And you get great entertainment for free. You can check out all the great stuff we have on our website, spacedoutradio.com, including our store where there is no ugly swag. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Brett Harpp is here, the haunted therapist. We are having just the most fun in a very enlightening yet serious conversation tonight. It is so good to have you here and have you here for the first time. I can guarantee you, Brett, this is not going to be the last time you're on this show.
Oh, yes, I'm in. I'm spaced out.
I have really enjoyed this tonight. Really have. So thank you for being just so candid with your great answers.
Thank you for asking great questions.
I'm a journalist. Why shouldn't I? But
Ooh. And a voice actor.
Oh, well, not really. I can play with my voice tones, but that's about it.
Yeah. What does your hat say? Is that some of your merch?
My hat? No. For people who can't see this on radio, I'm wearing, in Canada, we call it a toque. All of our American friends, you call it a beanie. Okay. One of my listeners actually knitted this for me.
Oh,
and then went online and found a Bigfoot patch that says Bigfoot Patrol Canada on it. So this is like the warmest toque I have. And yeah, I know I don't have much of a Canadian accent, but I will say Canadian words like toque. I will.
Yeah, it's pretty thick.
It is thick.
Yeah, I didn't think you were from Buffalo.
I feel like one of the South Park boys wearing this.
As you should.
Mm-hmm. I love it, though. I love it. So let's talk about the healing aspect. How do you help people come to terms with their paranormal experiences?
Yeah, so it just starts with being in a space where they're able to talk about it without feeling judged or feeling crazy or, anything like that. And it just, again, it all, I don't mean to be vague, but it really just depends on the person and what else they have going on and any diagnoses that are there, any substance use, any assessing risk level. But once all that is into place, it's about talking about it and it's about doing EMDR if we need to, if there's something really traumatic that they can't shake. It's about moving trauma from residual haunting to an intelligent haunting, which would be kind of like being able to name it, being able to say, here's what it did to me. Here's what it made me believe about myself. And here's what I'd prefer to believe about myself. And then it ultimately moves it to, I guess, like an exorcism of sorts, not so much of getting rid of the memory itself, because we still preserve the memory, but it doesn't take over the nervous system anymore. And I don't know, I can't guarantee if it's not going to still try to call you in your head and lure you back. That's something really interesting. But, trauma shows us literally that the mind can make things very real. And energy might work similarly.
Do you think, though, that people may want to hold on to that paranormal trauma because it gives them a story? It gives them something to hold on to that's different.
Yes.
I kind of remember, and I like to bring up this example. A long time ago, I had a listener who knew nothing about the paranormal, nothing about psychic ability. Okay. And all of a sudden, 6 months later, remember when Facebook Live first came out? Okay. All of a sudden, I'm scrolling through Facebook one day before a show, and here she is giving psychic readings. And like just a couple months previous to that, a few months previous to that, she didn't know the first thing about being psychic. She didn't know the first thing about the paranormal. So I think people, when they and I don't mean this to be rudely, when they don't have what they feel is anything going for them, they latch onto something that they might be able to do, and in something that interests them, whether it's psychic ability, whether it's holding on to that traumatic ghost story or alien encounter, whether it's collecting baseball cards or whatever it may be, knitting, crocheting, whatever it could be. Do you think we hold on to that because we find that that is our strength, and in those experiences we find strength, that if the conversation comes up, I can be a leader in that conversation because I've had that happen?
And you can have that. You can keep that and still not be haunted by it. But it's people who where it's stuck that becomes their identity. So for example, EMDR is all about de-escalating the this of it all, right? Like the escalation of it all. It's about calming the nervous system, but you can still have those experiences. The memories don't go away. You can even still, as you were saying, like sometimes people don't have a strong sense of self. They can still have that. They can still use that as their identity without needing to feel haunted. You can take it down a notch. It's kind of like people who are grieving, for us with our moms. We feel like, well, geez, if I God forbid I'm like forget her for a day or feel happy or whatever, you think, oh, that means I'm forgetting her, or I have to stay actively grieving in order to show that I still love her. No, there's so much more. There's so much love that's left there that's waiting for you once you heal the grief, the haunting, if you will. It's all about how you make meaning.
Okay. Okay, I get that, but can we then call it a paranormal addiction?
Oh,
Is it an addiction?
it certainly
Whether
seems to be. I
you
feel
have
addicted to it.
I'm sorry?
It certainly seems to be an addiction, like, I feel addicted to it, but I think I'm just addicted to the adventure of it, you know?
But I'm saying the experience that people have so that way they could share their stories, because there are a lot of people out there who believe that if they get that video that they're gonna make $1 million off of it, that if they have that experience, and they hold on to that paranormal encounter, that they are going to be able to profit from their trauma, from their emotions, and everything like that.
So then, they're not so that's what they're choosing to get out of it. Like you were saying earlier, what are we doing this for? What are we trying to get out of it? So now they're laser focused and they're not even having the experience anymore of the paranormal. They're just having their own experience of what they want to get out of it.
Is it choosing or is it yearning for popularity?
It's What's the difference?
Well, I think if you're choosing it, then you are making a solid choice that this is the road you want to take. But if you're yearning for it, like a lot of people are yearning for fame for it.
Okay, then it doesn't even feel like a choice. Yes, choice comes from a sense of agency and freedom to be able to make a choice, whereas yearning, it's almost like a compulsion. Yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying. It's almost like a compulsion, like that, and that doesn't feel like freedom at all, and it doesn't feel like a choice at all.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see this then. Are you someone then who prefers to help people with the trauma of their or the brain part of the trauma of their experience, or is does it go deeper than that? Does it go deeper than just trying to figure out what they're holding on to?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it definitely goes deeper. It's kinda like that thing I was saying earlier where I'm listening to them, but I'm listening not just to the words, but to them. So it definitely goes deeper, but, it's also and again, it sounds like I'm being vague again, but it really just matters what that person needs. Like, as a therapist, I have to meet them where they're at. For some people, it feels really uncomfortable to be seen in a deep way. So, I'm not gonna pry or probe too much in that way, but sifting through, confused, thoughts, right? Like, we wanna be able to bring the thinking more in line and more in order. So, we kinda wanna start with the thinking and the thoughts. What is it that you're thinking? What are you telling yourself about any experience, or what are you telling yourself about yourself? And then we dig deeper.
Many skeptical people will say that this is all mind tricks. Your eyes play tricks on you, your brain plays tricks on you. How do we know then what's a true experience and what is just our mind wanting us to believe that it's an experience?
I know, I don't know because I'm still so skeptical. One of the things that's tipped me more towards believer from skeptic is the office building that my private practice is in is haunted to the point where here's something, um, different clients and ones you would never think would say something like this have seen I don't know if it's so much an apparition, but like an energy change on the other side of my office where I'm sitting right now, because I'm deathly allergic. And then about a week or 2 later, somebody else that's in another office in this building messaged me and was like, "Hey, Brett, do you have a cat in your office by any chance? Like, I know it's weird, but we thought we heard scratching and meowing." So it's things like that that help us discern between, "Oh, it's just a trick of the eye. It's something I saw out of the corner of my eye," to now a few different people seeing and hearing the same thing. Don't you think? It's about, like, replication, and it's about validation.
Okay, so let me throw this caveat at you then, because when I'm discussing or debating with a skeptic, I always try and throw this in there. What's wrong with believing it actually happened?
Ooh, I love that. Ooh, that's a good question.
Because skeptics rely on proof and evidence and usually some sort of scientific background behind it, whereas the experiencer doesn't have anything to go on besides what they remember, what they know, and maybe a marking, maybe some sort of trauma that's happened physically or emotionally about it. That's all they have. In a court of law, in a different avenue, let's say someone gets in a bar fight and is assaulted. Okay, they have evidence on that. Nobody may have seen the fight in the back alley, but
Mm,
there's evidence of it. They're taking testimony on what could have been. Or if you eyewitness a car crash, you may not have seen the guy who is accepting the blame, that he was being, taunted by the other driver or whatever it may be. So our mind does miss things, but in a court of law, when it comes to something else, it's accepted as testimony. Whereas when it comes to the paranormal or UFOs or even cryptids, it's considered grifting. It's
mm.
considered just untrustworthy evidence.
Yeah. I love that question, especially because one thing that I've noticed even for myself is it's almost like you gaslight yourself sometimes, especially when you're new at this, because I have seen things happen, or collected evidence or whatnot. And, for me, being a beginner, I start to gaslight myself and go, well, I don't know what that was, or I'll barely remember it, right? It's like some kind of paranormal amnesia. But what's wrong with believing that that really happened? If I look at that as if I were going to answer you through my skeptic brain, is I guess because we're trying to, again, it comes in with because you're trying to prove something and you're trying to answer something that we just don't have enough data on yet.
And I can see that from an educational standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lived
'Cause,
experience is important. Yeah. It's important to all validate each other with our lived experience. This is something, right. I get what you're
like,
saying. I
I'll
love
give you an example. Let's give the audience an example here for a second. Let's say hypothetically, okay, you're out for a hike. You like hiking. Okay. You're out for a hike in northwestern New York, where there's a lot more forested trees and everything. And all of a sudden, you come across a meadow where there is a UFO hovering right above the ground. You are so in shock and awe of that happening that you don't even think about grabbing your phone to take a picture
it.
or a video. And by the time you think about it, this craft shoots right up into the sky and it's gone. You know what you saw. You describe what you saw perfectly, but people will say, you have no proof. You have no evidence. How do you combat that? When there are people out there who will put you down for just making a comment of seeing this beautifully lit up craft on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially if you're somebody who that's gonna be very defeating if you can't, which it would be for anybody. If you're the only one that saw it and nobody would believe you, that's traumatic in and of itself. So community comes into play. Community like the one that you're part of or the one that you've built or, any other numerous ones, because that's where you're gonna go to be believed and accepted. And that's a really important part of this. It's about how you're making meaning, and it's also about feeling validated. Otherwise, we gaslight ourselves. It's bad.
Do
And
you
it doesn't
think,
have to all be scientific,
right? Right. But is it maybe that we haven't figured out the science behind it?
right? Absolutely. And how are we going to if we keep denying experiences? And have we, right? Like somebody has and just hasn't introduced it to us. These are some of the things I believe.
I think
Somebody
we
out
can
there
all believe.
knows.
I think we can all believe that. Because we've all had that situation where you're not going to believe what I saw. And you're right, I don't. Right? But isn't that in the skeptical way a perception of fear and misunderstanding rather than skepticism?
Well, yeah, I mean, what is skepticism? It's just caution. And caution is born out of fear or not understanding.
Because one of the things I also like to make fun of about the paranormal world is when you go on these team websites, a lot of them will have the team skeptic. They'll have
Oh, really?
lead investigator, assistant investigator, historian, then they'll have team skeptic. And the team skeptic is always in the pose, pointed to the side with their arms crossed like this, staring very
Telling a story
diligently
physically. Yes, the
into the
body
camera.
tells the
Like,
story.
I'm team skeptic. Who are you? You know, it just makes me laugh. It makes me laugh.
Well,
That's all.
they have to appeal to everyone.
We have 5 minutes to go
Oh
before I
my
have to
god.
say goodnight to you. Yes, flown
I
on by.
can't believe I'm awake. This is so far past my bedtime, and now I don't think I'll be able to sleep at all. I'll be
I've
thinking
kept
about that
things
homework.
interesting. I've kept things interesting,
You
and
have
we've
to.
had a good conversation.
Yes,
We
I would
really have.
follow you into the haunted forest for sure.
I'm telling you, you and hubby come up to British Columbia. I'll take you out there. It'll be great. What do you want in your time in the paranormal? Okay, and I realize that's still quite fresh and new. Okay, but in your time in the paranormal, what have you learned that you would like other people in the paranormal to know from a professional standpoint?
Well, one thing that I've experienced just meeting some awesome people, and it's just such a close-knit, supportive community. That's been my experience. I know that hasn't been everybody's experience, which is shocking to me. Um, so that this can also be a very healing adventure. Again, it's got a clear beginning and a clear end, and it could just be a good time and some adventure to have. But I would like people to believe in themselves, to believe that they can test their nervous systems to do hard things, to do scary things, and show themselves that they would still be okay. And I think that that's very important. And it's very important to stay curious. Curiosity is the opposite of fear and anxiety in the brain, and we all need that. Um, there's more
Are
than
we
meets the eye, you know.
are we
And
are we thinking too hard on it?
what do you mean?
Just in regards to the subject of ghosts and the effects that it could have on us?
No, no such thing as thinking too hard on it. As long as you don't go too far with it, where it becomes some kind of obsession or delusion or something like that, as long as you keep your life balanced. No, we need to be louder about it, in fact. Think harder, think louder, but also do things, right? Like all we have as people are thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and maybe some fourth realm, a layer of something that we can do. But thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, that's what we have. So if one of those isn't working for you, then dip into some of the other ones.
Well, that works. That works.
Healing from haunts and the ghosts of traumas past. That's how I've arrived, and that's what I think is important.
I probably forgot to ask you this a while ago, but I will now. The hauntings of the traumas past,
Yeah.
would you consider that a residual energy that you have to cleanse yourself with or from?
I do think of therapy as a means of exercising or cleansing, um, the ghosts that haunt us, the traumas from our past that could follow us around. Therapy is one way, but going on adventures can be another way too. Like, I think this can be very healing for people. In fact, I want to put together haunted healing groups where I take people on paranormal, or apparently maybe I need to start doing some cryptid adventures, and make sure everybody's grounded and resourced and is going into this with consent willingly, and that we go on this and showing them that this can be very healing for them, and then with post investigation debriefs, which, don't you think, like, that's so much fun to do? And I feel like people don't do enough either, is at the end of the night, let's debrief, let's talk about all that. I feel like everybody just goes home because we're tired.
I love it. I really do. And I think, maybe it is about the adventure. Stop taking it so seriously and enjoy what comes at you. It's not about the evidence, it's about the experience.
Yes, yes, yes. In that way, we are thinking too hard. We should dip into the experience more, for sure.
I love that.
Agreed.
Then I have been doing it right. I have been. My goodness.
Therapist approved.
Brett, I want to say a hearty thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. You have been absolutely amazing tonight. Next 20 seconds or so, could you tell us where our audience can find you?
Yeah, at Haunted Therapist, anywhere you get your social media, including Facebook. I finally got begrudgingly dragged back into Facebook, which is a really tight paranormal community, which I love. And then the Haunted Therapist podcast on YouTube and Spotify.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Brett Harpp, everybody, the Haunted Therapist. Coming up next, we have Swamp Dweller, then Extra Small Lee Strauss, and Katie Page join us for the Q&A.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
That was good. That was good stuff. Great job.
Thank you. I really liked it. Um, yeah, hopefully I made sense. Sometimes I just start flapping my gums and I don't know what I'm saying.
I think you made amazing sense, and I'm so appreciative of this conversation. You're brilliant. You
Me
really
too.
are.
So are you, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Spread the word, tell a friend, and don't
Yeah,
forget to hit subscribe.
yeah, absolutely I will. You do it too.
I will, promise.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. We appreciate you. You have a good night. Go get some sleep.
Thank you. Bye,
Take
Dave.
care.
See you later.
Bye. I love her. I love her as a guest. I wish every guest had that amazing energy on their topics. That was phenomenal. Great job. Great job. I'll be right back, everybody. So let me put up my picture. Lee, I made a picture. Check this out.
Darn, that's good, Dave. Real good. Real good. Yeah, that looks awesome.
right. Let's bring in our tandem. Hold on. There's extra small right there. Katie, how are you?
Well, how about you?
I'm good. Lee, I don't know if you noticed, but on the Caribou Con Facebook page, they put a little section of a blurred section of who's coming to speak. Can you guess the guest? And you were the one today, and I put a giant extra small on there. It was awesome. I'm not going to lie. It was awesome.
Dave, everybody thinks that I'm 4 foot tall because of you.
Literally, Lee is like 4'8". But he bench presses like 500 pounds.
Mm.
Katie, you're amazing. Did Lorian reach out to you yet?
No.
I'll bug her more. I would have bugged her more. We're coming back in 15 seconds. Thank you tonight to T-Bone and Deanna. If you haven't joined the Caribou Con group on Facebook yet, please do. I'd greatly appreciate it. Here we go, everybody. We are into the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We got Swamp Dweller, we got Lee Strauss, we got Katie Page, a jam-packed hour 3 coming at you here momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Please follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Oh, I said it right the first time, and now I'm panicking. Paludicallis. Paludicallis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. My story takes place a couple of years ago when I went on vacation with my friend Sarah and her family. I'm originally from Texas, but the events mentioned occurred in Tennessee. Sarah's family and I went on a road trip for the summer, and all was going pretty awesomely. On the second day of the trip, Sarah's mom allowed Sarah and I to go ziplining by ourselves. When we arrived at the spot we were supposed to go ziplining, we saw a bunch of people from all age ranges, ready to do the same thing. The instructor began lining us up and dividing us by van numbers as our group was big enough to warrant several vans taking us to the spot where we'd be ziplining. While we waited in line, Sarah and I noticed a man ahead of us trying to take a selfie with a rather large camera. His camera was at such an angle that you could see us. After noticing us, the man turned around and smiled. We all laughed and we began talking to the man, who was wondering where we were from and if we were tourists in the area. I didn't think much of this and just figured the guy wanted to do some small talk, and so we told him where we were from. This was when the man told us he was 22 and traveling the roads, which we thought was super cool. Soon enough, the instructor had us get into the vans. I was first, followed by Sarah. There was a woman who was next, but the dude we were chatting with suddenly cut her in line. He got a seat next to Sarah. We eventually were all filled up and the van began moving. The guy continued talking to us, which was when I began to feel a little bit weird about everything. The guy's questions were becoming more detailed. He asked Sarah what her name was, and I quickly tried to cut them off, warning her not to give out her name. Naturally, she didn't listen. I refused to give my name out. The questions for which he now directed at Sarah soon began to turn to things like what was her Snapchat and her Instagram. This made me even more suspicious as we told him that she was 14 and he is 22. Why in the hell would he want to know about Instagram and Snapchat anyway? After this, he took things a step further and asked if we'd take a picture with him. I quickly turned the guy's offer down and then tried to get Sarah to do the same, but she ignored my caution and took pictures with the guy anyway. When we arrived at the campsite and got to the instructor, she began telling us the rules and giving us directions on what to do next. Sarah and I moved up front to hear better. As we did, the camera guy slowly worked his way behind us. It was now that Sarah was finally starting to get an off vibe about the guy, so we continued moving back and forth among the group trying to ditch the dude. The guy continued following us back and forth, and upon hearing the instructor ask who wanted to go first, Sarah and I immediately volunteered, hoping to put as much space between us and that dude as possible. As predicted, however, the dude quickly moved up to be the one to go right after us. Freaked by this, we talked to the instructor, who then let the people in front of him to break us all apart. After ziplining, the dude eventually got caught up to us again. Worried for me and Sarah's safety, I called the guy out on his stalking ways. This made the guy get defensive and throw his hands up in the air, but he did back off. The rest of the day was fine after this, and thankfully on the way back, the guy purposely took a different van, so as not to creep us out, I guess. We've learned from our experiences. The best thing we can say, though, is if you're ever on any trip, always be careful on who you let close. Who knows what would have happened if we didn't confront that guy. I like not thinking too much about it, though, because it could have gone really bad.
Another creepy one by our swampy friend, Swamp Dweller. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories right there on YouTube for you to listen to. It's time for the Q&A. Let's bring in our good buddy, Extra Small Lee Strauss from Element 115 on our YouTube channel. Here we go.
They call him extra small, but he's big where it counts. Chasing Bigfoot through the woods on wild accounts. Talking ghosts in the dark, UFOs in the sky. Aliens laughing while they're cruising by. Yeah, Lee Strauss is out there. Hear that cosmic call? He's the legend of Element 115. Hero Spaced Out Radio's Q&A.
Lee Strauss, it's always good to have you back on the show. How you doing, brother?
Man, it's fantastic to be here, sir. I'm having a great week.
Well, that's good. You know what's going to make it better? Let me tell you.
From the Rocky Mountains, here comes Katie Page. Only on Space Out Radio. Katie will creep us, yeah, it's time for us beyond SORC counters.
So for people who are wondering where Katie Page went, well, she had something come up in her daytime life that she had to move from Wednesday. So I said to Lee Strauss, I said, hey, bud, why don't we bring on the awesome Katie Page to talk about some really cool stories and we can discuss them with her. It's going to be great. So Katie is going to be joining us each and every time, once a week, with Lee and I to go over these really cool stories. So thank you, Lee, for allowing Katie to come in, and thank you, Katie, for still being a part of us from Rocky Mountain Ranch Research on YouTube. And Katie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been a great week as well. It's a little cold now, though, up here. We're like at 3 degrees or something, so we're getting an Arctic blast across this country. But it's been a good week.
Well, you're 1 degree less than me right now. Yeah.
I
But,
feel like
oh
this
my
is
goodness.
a competition.
It is. Well, Lee lives in one of those warmer winter climates. You know, it is, yeah, you know.
Nah.
Katie, you got a couple of stories that you're going to bring with us tonight. What are you starting with here?
I do. First of all, I want to remind everybody that these stories come from the UFO Decks, which is Ryan Wood's service out there. It's great if you go to UFODecks.com and you have any questions pertaining to UFOs, send them his way and he'll put it in his database and you'll get a very specific data set. It's like a chat GBT or a Grok, but it's all UFO, paranormal, cryptid specific, mostly UFOs. So this story comes from that, but I had a weird synchronicity with this one. So as you know, I research these cases and I have them prepared ahead of time, or I at least hope to. And right just hours after I printed this out, um, Michael Schratt on Facebook put the same case up on there. And I was like, whoa, because it's a really obscure case. So it was kind of like one of those synchronistic things. I'm like, I can't believe that. Anyway, but this is a case that happened we're in Idaho, because that's the, we were going through the state. So we're in Idaho. And this one is in Snake River, Idaho. This occurred just a couple weeks after the Roswell event. So August 13th, 1947. Snake River Canyon, and Idaho is interesting too as a state. It's kind of a state people don't really think about when it comes to UFO sightings and that, but it has military bases, it has mines, and I've noticed a lot of UFO sightings over mines, like up in Cripple Creek, Colorado here. And of course, the deep canyons and wilderness. So it's a really great state with many, many good cases. But this one in particular involves some children. And this is a topic I think would be interesting to talk about, is how we tend to dismiss kids who report cryptids, UFO sightings, or the paranormal. It's sort of like, oh, it's your overactive imagination, or we don't really take it that seriously. But there were adult witnesses that also supported what happened to these kids. So it was like just weeks after the famous Kenneth Arnold sighting near Snake River Canyon, Idaho, 2 young boys were sent to retrieve a rope from a boat. Instead of returning, they stopped, standing still, staring silently into the sky. An adult later found them frozen in place, appearing trance-like and able to speak. That's a similar thing that happened on Rocky Mountain Ranch with me. So it's a pretty, like, you're paralyzed. Hovering above them was this large disc-shaped object, estimated at about 20 feet in diameter, described as the same color as the sky itself. So almost like cloaking, almost camouflaged against the daylight. Witnesses said it emitted a flame-like exhaust, yet there was no smoke, no odor, and no sound. The boys remained disoriented for some time afterward. Adding to the strangeness, the witnesses reported that the vehicle continued running with the headlights on for an extended period, roughly 15 minutes, without anyone touching it, suggesting possible missing time or electromagnetic effects. So it says this is interesting too, the local livestock were also reportedly agitated during the incident, a detail that would later become familiar in UFO cases. So I think what's interesting, I kind of want to start with that topic, like this sighting, though it had, many witnesses and physical effects and things, but yet it was kind of pushed aside because, these were, I think the boys were like 14, if I'm remembering correctly. So, what do you guys think of that? What do you think of this case here?
Lee, jump on in.
Well, that is the case with children. Unfortunately, their innocence, right? So you can't right away excuse what they're saying. In fact, instead of less credibility, I think we should give them more, right? Especially when they don't have a lot of worldly experience, right? So it's interesting that we're predisposed to discounting what they're saying, when I think it should be the opposite.
Do you agree with that, Dave?
I usually agree with Lee because he's more pragmatic than me. He really is. He's not only pragmatic, but he's very technically advanced and smarter than me. Not better looking. I have a better beard, but he's got the muscles to prove it. I'm always cautious when it comes to children, when it comes to these types of cases. I think when children have an experience, we should take it a little bit more seriously because they haven't had an imagination that would grow into something ufological as of yet, or at least you wouldn't expect them to. And so I love cases like this one, or if you go back to the African school incident, at the Ariel school where the kids had that incident happen. I think with kids, you get a more developed answer than what we give them credit for.
Right, because oftentimes we hear, kids have an overactive imagination, and in 1947, sci-fi flicks and the height of all that. But what gets me, I mean, maybe if they just described, oh, we saw this invisible cloak-like UFO that made these sounds, but I don't think kids would necessarily or would fake being frozen and the adults approaching them and they're like paralyzed and mesmerized, and I don't think kids are going to necessarily fake that with adults. So I think that part gives it a little bit more credibility as well. The
100%,
physical effects.
100% agree with you. Before we continue on, I want to give a shout out to UFO Max host Grant Baker. Okay. Grant had an incident, ice versus human today, and he slipped and fell, broke his leg, broke his ankle, and he's listening from a hospital bed right now, tuning in. So, Lee, let's give Grant the proverbial hat tip there to get healthy. So, if we could send some healing and love help to Grant Baker, who's tuning on in right now, watching us, I know he would appreciate it. And Grant, this is why you should have learned to skate. I'll say I'm the Canadian here. I'll just say it, Grant. You should have learned to skate. You wouldn't be in this position right now. No, I'm kidding, my buddy. Grant's a great dude, a great friend and lover. And we love him on Spaced Out Radio, being a part of our team. So if we could send him some healing love, I'd greatly appreciate it. I know he would as well, everyone. So Grant, get better soon, man. Get better soon. All right, Katie, your next story. We got about 7 minutes with you.
Oh, you want another story? Okay.
You have one?
I'll give you. I was going to talk about the flame exhaust, but we'll do another story.
Well, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just curious. Yeah, I was just curious what you guys thought about, UFO reports that, like the Socorro case, for example, that have flames reported or sounds that sound like something that might be man-made. Do you think it makes it more likely our own secret technology, our own craft? Does it totally negate that it's extraterrestrial in nature? I'm curious what you two think about that.
You know what? I love this question, and I'll tell you why. Okay, because when I got into the UFO world about 11 years ago, I wasn't up to speed on what had transpired with technology. And a lot of it, when I heard like about the Socorro case or even Roswell, and not so much Roswell, but after Roswell, a lot of the incidents in the 50s and 60s, it really made me wonder what is a UFO or not once I started getting educated. The reason why is I was always a very big amateur military plane buff. And one of my favorite planes was the SR-71 Blackbird. And if you go back in history, they started designing the Blackbird in like the late 1950s. And it was a completely secret craft up until the 1960s, 70s. It was a black project. And so if we had that type of technology back then, and we were designing it and building it in the early 50s and 60s, which we couldn't even comprehend because going into the 1950s, we were still flying prop planes, for goodness sake. Yes, there was jet technology due to the Nazi Germans and the Messerschmitts that they created near the end of World War II. And yes, that's when we developed the F-86 Sabre. And, you go into the Korean War, the great air battles between the F-86 and the MiG-17. And then all of a sudden we go from these jets that could fly like 500 miles an hour to Chuck Yeager breaking the sound barrier, right? And then follow that up just a couple of years later, where we're designing this 110-foot aircraft that is faster than a speeding bullet, in the SR-71 and the A-12 ox cart. So now looking at it from a more veteran scale of information, I don't know anymore, because the UFOs that I have personally encountered have all been silent. I've never heard one make noise except the first one I ever saw.
And
And
what,
go ahead.
okay, what did that sound like? The first one?
The only way I can describe it was it sounded like if you listen to the sound of a C-130 Hercules up at altitude, the propeller engines that are very sophisticated, they're like a propeller / jet engine. Okay. They make a very distinct sound, except it was a deeper buzzing sound than what a C-130 would make. Lee, what's your thoughts?
Well, there's many different types of entities out there, and I think they come along with their own tech, right? Sometimes, like in our case, we take their technology and we make it our own. But there are some races, I'm sure, that have come up with their own technology, and some of that technology I could only imagine has a more they use a propellant, like, let's say, jet fuel or something like that in certain cases, to assist for certain purposes. Why not? Absolutely. I think it's very possible.
Like maybe scout ships or something. Like they certainly couldn't use fuel to get here,
Right,
but maybe
exactly.
once they're here, maybe in order to like cruise around, you
Yeah,
know.
to land, or
Yeah.
whatever. And you got to think of a difference too when you're talking about different planets and atmospheres that they're going to be getting into. So on their planet, maybe they don't need that, but here on Earth, it's conducive to use that sort of propellant, or whatever the case is. So yeah, I do think it's possible. We just have to open up the brain a little bit, and kind of realize that we're all not flying through the same atmosphere if we're on other planets, and that sort of thing. So sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe they know what they need here, and that would explain to the different size ships. Because sometimes people will, see these more motherships or large craft, and these little scouts, or these spheres that seem to be zipping around, and maybe they use a different kind of propulsion system or something like that. That's always interesting because, I hear, Michael Schrott talking about that too. And it's not that I completely disagree with him either, but, he talks about the little, if they have rivets or seams or those little wings off the side, or if they emit, any smoke or sound, that is most likely our own secret tech. And that's pretty likely as well. So I think that's interesting. And it reminds me too, like in the 1970s, we had the rash of the blacked out helicopters, and that in connection with the animal mutilations. And some of them, a lot of them actually were reported to be silent. And I'm like, even if a helicopter, was muffled and made minimal noise, the rotors would still kick up the dirt and the gravel and make some sort of wind or noise. And these helicopters that were spotted and reported in the mid to late 70s did not, yet they look like helicopters. So that begs a question. I'd like your opinion on this too. Do you think extraterrestrials would disguise themselves, as our own aircraft? I mean, it would make sense to me that if we didn't want to spot something anomalous in the sky, all they have to do is make it look like an airplane. And we'll go, it's just a plane, but it's ET cruising on by. What do you think of that?
Well, there's been many cases where people have claimed to see craft morph and change. And not only that, come out of larger craft where they didn't see like an appendage stuck on a craft, but it actually morphed out of the main body of the craft. If this is technology that some of these races have, I definitely agree with you that they could, morph into something that looks like a helicopter, but it's not a helicopter. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, the greatest thing for them, or their main, sorry.
Lee Strauss, Katie Page from Rocky Mountain Ranch Research. This is a Q&A.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
Well, I was just going to say the main thing for them is they don't want to scare people necessarily, right? So
they would probably cloak then. I mean, if
cloak
they
or
can, yeah, if they can turn into elk or a rabbit. I mean, I know those are the ETs themselves that kind of will morph or turn into things so we're more comfortable. Why wouldn't they do that with their craft, I suppose? I don't know. Just food for thought.
yeah, or affect somebody's mind to what they're looking at.
Yeah. True.
Katie, are you sticking around or are you packing on out?
I think I'm gonna head to bed.
Ah,
So
I knew that was coming. I knew it. Thank you for a great segment, my dear. You are the
yeah,
best.
and we'll do this great case next Friday night because it involves ETs and it's also out of Idaho, 1950s case, and it's really intriguing. That involved cattle and all sorts of things. So that'll be fun for next week. Some
Sounds
good
good.
questions. So have a good night, everybody.
Appreciate you, Katie.
Okay.
Rocky
Bye-bye.
Mountain Ranch Research, everybody. Go to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Lee. She's got great stories, man. Great stories.
I love that.
All right, we got about 4 minutes here, brother.
Oh, it's amazing to me to think these ETs have a lot of superpowers, man. I'm telling you.
I'm sorry, my hearing was muffled on that one. What did you say about
I
what
said
has superpowers?
I said these ETs have a lot of superpowers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Some people call that magic, man. And it's just technology we don't understand.
Mm-hmm. So I guess all of Washington State will be shutting down on Sunday for the Seahawks.
I don't know. I get to go to work tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. But Sunday, I'm not sure. I don't watch the sports, man.
I know. You're like one of like 7 people in Washington State who won't be watching.
Is it a Super Bowl? I mean, what's the
No,
deal?
the winner goes to the Super Bowl between
the winner.
Seattle and Denver.
Oh, Denver, huh? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know what? My son has a hockey game out of town.
Oh.
I almost skipped it, but I'm like, no, I missed a lot of hockey this year watching my boy play. So I am actually going to skip football for my son.
There you go. That's important, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got 2 minutes, bud.
Yep. Last night I cooked myself a steak and I couldn't taste it. And I'm like, uh-oh, am I getting the you know what?
Put some hot sauce on your tongue. Send it down.
Yeah.
Cures anything.
Right.
You know what? I'm not a medical professor or anything like that. I beat bronchitis with hot sauce.
Oh.
By burning away the mucus lining in your lungs. Tim James had the one thing that we're not allowed to talk about.
Yes.
For 3 weeks, he tried the hot sauce that has habanero peppers in on my recommendation. It was gone within a week.
Wow.
And then my dad just had bronchitis. And my dad doesn't eat anything spicy outside of garlic. Like, Dad, try this. So he goes to his fridge. There's a bottle of hot sauce in there. And in 3 days, his bronchitis was gone.
I was looking at your hot sauce collection.
I got a big hot sauce collection. You can actually take some home next time you're here. Save me the bottles. That's all I like. Because I don't know. I have this fascination with hot sauce bottles. I do. Okay, we got 20 seconds. Thank you to Gary. Thank you to Deanna. And thank you to T-Bone for the wonderful super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate your love and support. T-Bone, just for you tonight. Just for you, buddy. Not many people get this, but T-Bone, you're getting a hat tip tonight because you're awesome. Here we go. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Let's bring him in, extra small Lee Strauss for the Q&A. It's always good to have you here, Lee. Thank you for coming on in.
Happy to be here, buddy.
July 8th.
Yep.
It is said that people have been quoted that will be the day the President of the United States announces that aliens are with us. Aliens are here. Apparently this follows suit from sources out of the UK to Mark Christopher Lee, a documentarian who says his sources in DC are claiming that the speech is written and it's all waiting for July 8th, which coincides with the 79th anniversary of Roswell. Curious your thoughts on this.
Well, July 2nd is World UFO Day. It's curious that it will not be that day since it's so close by. And what a better way to ring in, our nation's birthday, July 4th. And I think that would be huge, even on the 4th of July, right? That kind of news. People might, they might catch themselves on fire or something. I don't know, but that whole thought about, we're worried what people might do once they understand that there's life out there and that it's all been hidden from us for so long. I think that's just laughable now, especially now, with so much news and so many people, the majority of people knowing that it's true, and everybody just wants the truth out there anyway. So
here's one thing I want to get your point, because I know you believe in the conspiracy of the cover-up when it comes to this.
Yeah.
We see a lot of this information coming from deep inside, allegedly, Washington, D.C., and it's not going to a lot of American journalists. Okay? Yes, you see George Knapp break a lot of stories because, well, that's what investigative journalists do. But when you look at a lot of the stories that come out that are broken on this subject, it's not happening on Fox. It's not happening in the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Chicago Tribune or the LA Times. It comes from a lot of journalists, independent journalists from outside the United States. Okay, so for instance, Ross Coulthart, who's a great journalist, okay, he's Australian. He's covering the story from Australia, but talking to people who are in the know, including allegedly people within the Pentagon and around Washington, D.C. Christopher Sharp from the UK for liberationtimes.com, another great journalist, okay, who is covering this story, has plenty of sources at the Pentagon. And now you look at Mark Christopher Lee, a documentarian, saying his sources in Washington, D.C. and the Pentagon are saying that July 8th is the day. So my question is on this. Look, in an internet world and a social media world, the world is closer than ever. There really are no borders anymore. However, I really struggle. I struggle with this as a journalist in wondering why people so deep inside the Pentagon or deep inside Washington, D.C., or the Congress or whomever would give an outsider that information and not an American that information. Why are they taking the news outside? And that would be the same, Lee, if it was me. I'm Canadian. I live in Canada. For people who may not know, I hate to tell you, I'm one of them Canadians. Okay? If I were to have my sources in Washington, D.C., and they were telling me things, I would be included on that list too. So I'm not slamming the journalists who are doing their job because I think they're doing a great job. But I'm not understanding, or I'm having a hard time understanding, where these very professional people who are committing this information or committed to this information wire that's going outside of the U.S. to come back into the U.S. What's your thoughts?
There's still a truth embargo on this, Dave. Your bigger networks that don't get into this subject, they've been told, hey, listen, this is a subject we want you to stay away from. We'll give you some nice, juicy stuff on the side if you do, and you're going to get the inside scoop. If you don't talk about this subject, okay, just kind of keep it swept under the rug. Do whatever you want to do, but let's just keep this subject under the rug and we'll give you some juicy stuff off the side. So, that's what it is. You'll get a story about some other thing that happened in another country or whatever that the Pentagon is in on, or they'll get tips on something else that's going on that other news stations won't get or other news sources won't get because they are keeping this stuff under wraps, or they're laughing about it, or they're making mockery of it. You know what I mean? So that's what I believe is happening today.
Well, I find it interesting, and it's funny. Nicole Sackich and I were having this conversation on the phone the other day about this. And Nicole Sackich, if you're wondering who she is, she's a independent UFO researcher. She is filled with information. She's an encyclopedia on this subject. And we didn't use the word psyop, that it's a psyop, or that it could be potentially treasonous, because I think that's maybe exaggerating it a little bit. But I do believe that there must be some sort of measure that's going on, putting this subject more into the hands of international journalists than homegrown outside of George Knapp. Like, you take, for instance, a great journalist covering this story, former guest of ours from Askapol, is Matt Laszlo. He gets right into the faces because he lives in Washington, D.C. He's covering the UFO story, and he's doing a great job with it. But he's not breaking a lot of these stories that other journalists are, who are across the pond, one way or the other, two across the Atlantic, one across the Pacific. So I'm wondering, are these guys really that deep with their sources? Are they just dogged on making phone calls and sending emails? I'm curious about that. And it makes me wonder.
Well, the first question that I ask is, why July 8th? What is it? As far as is there something we don't know about that's happening right after July 8th or around July 8th that we're not privy to? privy to. What's the deal? What's going on? You have the first public reading of the U.S. Declaration of Independence on July 8th, 1776. But this definitely, you know what this is going to do? It's going to make me go down a rabbit hole. I swear to God.
You got an 11-minute rabbit hole. Go for it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it, buddy.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that the thing is that I need to, go through Google. I need to go through different sources to try to figure out what's going on around July 8th. I'm going to go ahead and look at planetary alignments. I'm going to go deep into the weeds to try to figure out what it is about July 8th that's so significant. You know what I mean? I need to dive in and get in there and try to figure it out, because I have no idea why that date has been chosen, as you and I are talking about it. And so, as soon as I figure out more, we'll talk about it. But yeah, it's gonna take me some time to dig.
And here I was all excited for a rant. All excited.
Well, I can't really give you, a rant yet. I need to look into this and figure out where this is all coming from.
All right, let's get out of the UFOs. Let's go into the Bigfoot field here for a second. I had Thomas Seawood on last show. Thomas is a friend of yours, friend of mine. Not really a woo guy. Doesn't believe that a lot of the things that many people say happen, high strangeness, which I think at times, and I mean this with all due respect to Thomas, I think at times he contradicts himself, because he'll say all the First Nations and indigenous legends about how the creature has been said to do all these things, but if somebody witnesses it doing that, he doesn't believe it. So I'm caught in that conundrum right now. And I've also heard a lot of talk recently, to myself and reading online, that the great debate between flesh and blood Sasquatch and supernatural Sasquatch seems to be coming back. What is your take on this? Because you've had some pretty incredible experiences with the Sasquatch, and I want to know what you feel.
Well, I feel that there is a supernatural component. However, I didn't always believe that until I had an experience where I can't explain. When I saw the thermal, the Sasquatch on the thermal, and then it just kind of faded away, like it just faded out, which didn't make any sense to me. How can an animal just fade out into nothing? So I have to realize, and I have to understand, that there are people that have different experiences in this world, and they're not all the same as the experiences we've had, Dave. And so they're only going off their experience, and they can't understand, because they can't understand that, a creature can do such a thing. Like, how is that even possible? Right. I don't know how it's possible, but it is what it is. And so he talks about orbs that he sees before a Sasquatch sighting. I've actually got him to admit that, but he doesn't believe they're one and the same at all. And you just have to know that people have different thoughts about these things, and be accepting of that, because in the long run, you're going to learn from them anyway, and they're going to possibly come up with something that you haven't tied one thing to another thing to come up with your own solution, that maybe they can foster that along. So that's just something we have to be accepting of.
No, I understand that, and I can appreciate that, because my belief is this. I believe they could be flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that they have some sort of supernatural ability at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that they can't have both. I mean, we've heard about instances where people have, pointed their pointy sticks at these creatures and then allowed them to hear or pulled the trigger, and all of a sudden something happened where the creature is hit and starts roaring and running off. I mean, we've also heard stories of people, taking them out. Go back to the Mount St. Helens Ape Canyon incident where the Sasquatch terrorized those prospectors for a few nights because they had shot and allegedly taken out one of those creatures.
Yep.
Okay, so if that's the possibility, so how do we look at the creature as being just flesh and blood when people have experiences like you did with the FLIR where it just vanished, it disappeared? Or the one I saw with my boy and my buddy Mark and my buddy Mike, where it just vanished into the darkness without moving. Right?
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of both.
It is a combination of both. There's no reason for us to be skeptical about other people's experiences when, maybe not all of their talents have come to light yet, right? But yes, it would be nice to be able to nail this down, obviously. Like we were talking earlier about how aliens seem to have all these superpowers, right? It's the same thing with Sasquatch. It may be part alien. We have no idea. Until we have one in captivity, we'll never know
And
what
that's
their
the big thing.
capabilities are.
Even if we have a body, the great debate, when we get a body, we'll be able to know. Why haven't you found a body? You would think that if it didn't have any type of ability, that we would have found a body. Now, I will say this, nature is very good at cleaning up after itself. Okay. Besides all the insects and the bugs that do all the dirty work, you have a lot of animals out there. Let's say if you find a deer carcass, within a couple of days, that deer carcass is clean. And sometimes a coyote or a fox or a wolf will take some of the bones to chew on the bones for the marrow. Okay, so skeletons are even picked clean. That being said, when you have this creature, we still haven't found a body. So it makes you wonder, are they burying them? Many people believe they're burying them in these rock quarries where people seem to go missing, according to David Politis. Okay, so are those rock quarries that people walk around in, or that you could drive by in any forest where all of a sudden you'll see, like for like hundreds of yards, just boulders upon boulders of rock? Is that where they're burying them? Are they burying them in caves? You would see something fresh if they were digging holes to bury their dead. Or what if they're taking their dead into a different dimension?
Right.
We don't know.
See,
We really don't know.
you just hit on something that I was thinking about as well. Is we have all these cases of missing people where the parents turn around and all of a sudden their child or their buddy is gone. I mean, and they were right behind them. They knew that they were there. They could hear them walking, and all of a sudden, then they don't. So,
Right.
is it possible they're using these roving portals that are in the forest or in the woods or up in these big rock areas, and they just disappear into those? They know where they are at. They can sense where they're at. I mean, their capabilities of knowing what's around them and being able to hide and being able to use their environment. So maybe their senses are heightened enough to know exactly where those locations are where they could just slip out of sight super easy. Maybe it's not something that they make from some kind of frequency that they make within their chest cavity. Maybe it's the ability to know exactly where these portals are and maybe tune into that frequency and slip through super easy. And maybe they're able to grab people, or people are able to somehow unwittingly slip into these same locations. So it's all very possible. And wouldn't it be interesting if we figure out what that is, how to see those things, how to recognize them in our environment ourselves?
They could be right there and we don't even know. You know, I hearken back to what I've seen or perceived to see with this creature. I mean, even at Flight 21, we knew they were there. We could hear them. You could hear them rummaging around the trees. Couldn't see them, but we knew they were there. And yet, where were they? Is it a cloaking mechanism that they may have? Maybe. You know, but if you're looking at something 20 feet away, even if you're in the forest, you should be able to recognize what it is. But when you hear noise from that place 20 feet away and you're looking and you're not seeing a damn thing, where is it? It's right there, but it's not. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly. I've had that same experience where
Me
I
too.
hear it and I just can't see it.
So where is it? That is part of the mystery that we're trying to solve, my friend.
Truth is where you find it, my friend.
I love that quote. Love that quote. That should be a t-shirt.
Yep, I use it on my show now.
All right. Chew your food, my friend. Lee Strauss from Element 115. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god of self. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Struggling with something right now.
I can't hear you, buddy. You're too far from the mic.
I know. I'm really struggling with something right now.
Yeah.
Our tip of the caps.
Yes.
Okay. I'm left-handed and I'm doing this right-handed, and it's really messing me up. That feels better. But I can't do that because my arm may hit the microphone. And it's screwing me right up.
Well, just switch your camera view and that'll fix the problem. I don't know. Anyway, I was thinking too, you know how the areas in the woods. So if you had two groups of people in the woods with you.
I'm gonna, just so you know, I'm gonna be listening, but I'm gonna bring my microphone over here. I'm just gonna turn my back to you for a couple seconds. Okay?
Yeah, no worry. So
All
if you
right, go
had
ahead.
two groups of people in the woods, and you know how you get into these spots in the woods where you're not hearing anything. All the sounds of the birds and everything goes dead. I'm wondering if you had two groups of people and you had that situation, would that one group of people that was hearing nothing be totally invisible to the other group of people? You know how it just kind of gets eerie all of a sudden, and the
Yes.
air seems to be thick, and there's no sound, and everything seems to just go still.
Oh, yeah.
So I wonder if we unwittingly step into one of these portals and everything looks the same, but now we're gone temporarily.
You expect me at midnight Pacific time to go that in depth with my brain right now? That is a great question. It is a great question.
You know, it's interesting. You can see, I mean, I can visualize it because it's happened to me. You can see the clouds moving above,
Yeah.
but it's just different. It's like you're in a space out of time
Right.
momentarily.
Hold on. I just got to disconnect my microphone. Keep talking.
But anyway, that's what my thought is, because you know we've had these experiences, my buddy and I, when we hiking through the woods and going to certain spots, and we get into an area like that,
Right.
and you know where you're going. It's just all of a sudden you're in a spot in the woods where nothing seems like it should be, and you have no explanation for it. And then you
Yes.
keep going, and then you come out of it, and then you're going to hear birds, you're going to hear the water flowing again, or you know, those sorts of things. So, and why is it? Why does it even make sense that these spots only happen in the woods or in the wilderness? Why aren't these spots in cities? Or has anybody experienced these sort of spaces out of time in cities?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like when you were up here and Tim and I were showing you the meadow where all of a sudden there was no oxygen. Not when you were there, but when Tim and I were there, we were showing you the spots where it happened. We are showing you that it looks like there was an attempted lean-to being built in that area as well. I mean, what causes an environmental issue like that, where all of a sudden you're in the middle of the forest, middle of the trees make that old oxygen stuff, and you can't breathe? There's no air. Like, what's with that?
Or it's severely degraded. You know, I don't know what that is. I want to build a device that'll highlight those areas in some way, or you know, how would you do that? I don't know, but it seems to me like the fact that it seems to be in forests makes me think it's something inherent with forests, with all the life that's around. Did I ever tell you the story? I was backpacking up in the North Cascades, going up to a place called Pyramid Lake off of Highway 20.
Right.
That goes to Eastern Washington here, very, very North Cascades, not too far away from the Canadian border. And I was hiking up this trail. It was early morning. I had gotten to the trailhead about, I don't know, 5:30 or so, and
Yes.
hiking up. And all of a sudden, the sun came up over the peak and it
Right.
illuminated the valley that I was in. And everything started to heat up. And all of a sudden, it was like I was in a space like we're talking about, except I was seeing all the trees and the plants with such vivid color.
Right.
And it was like the plants and the trees and everything was singing at the same time because the sun had started to heat them up.
Yes.
And I wonder if that was a case where I had slipped into that reality. But with all of that life that's so energetic that we're not able to see it all the time, or very rarely are we able to see it. I'm wondering if they can create those areas where a Sasquatch can slip into another dimension or another reality just temporarily. But
I don't know.
maybe it has to do with that life energy. Maybe that's where it comes from, where it stems from.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
That's totally interesting. I know at my original gifting site, okay, I took like 4 or 5 people there one day. And in that time that we were there, I led them straight from the road about 250 feet into the trees. Okay. Showed them my gifting site, showed them where the footprint we found out there, the 15-inch track that we found out there. Okay. And all of a sudden, after about 15, 20 minutes, you're like, okay, guys, well, let's get going. We'll continue driving through the forest trying to find some wildlife. I didn't know how to get out. Everything all of a sudden, and I've been to this place probably at that time 20, 30 times. It's only about 250 feet off the road, maybe a little bit more, but not much. I didn't know where I was, didn't know where the road was, didn't know where my vehicle was. Like all of a sudden, it was like the forest turned on me. That was scary, man. It was real scary. Or I've been at Flight 21 at times with Tim, where we walk the same area. The same areas all the time. You know where we're going, in the back behind where we park. You go to the gifting site, and then you go to the right of the gifting site. I've been in there, man, where all of a sudden it doesn't look familiar at all. It looks like the trees within a week have shot up like 3.5 feet each. I don't get that. The forest plays tricks, man.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it may have a lot to do with that life energy, that, condensed life energy there.
Could be.
Mhm.
Could very well be. It's pretty insane, man.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Oh, totally awesome. Totally awesome. It doesn't have to make sense. Sure doesn't. But yet here we are.
Yeah.
So is it the question is it the perception of us and our limited amount of brain power, thinking, so on and so forth? Or is it the actual forest that, because it's alive, that's playing tricks on us?
Well, I think the forest is alive in many more ways than we can understand. We have a limited capability. We've got our 5 senses, and some may say they have more, but yeah, it's definitely has to do with.
Hello and welcome to the radio and
forest.
podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is shut Dave this Scott. thing down. We are Accidentally. jumping into the paranormal pool of tonight's show. Sorry about that, buddy.
No worries, brother. I think I'm going to crash, my friend. I am needing to go to sleep because I got to start early tomorrow.
I got to work tomorrow too, my man. I got to work tomorrow too. And then we're having a Caribou Con meeting tomorrow night. And then I'm going to treat myself to a little trip into the forest.
There you go, brother.
At night. Just me, myself, and I on the logging roads that I'm used to. Just to You know how the forest just kind of cleanses you? Even if you're in a vehicle, the forest has this ability to just cleanse you. I think I need it. I haven't been in the forest in a couple of months since the end of hunting season. And so I'm going to enjoy the forest tomorrow night. I am. It's going to be great. Lee, you were absolutely awesome tonight, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely awesome. I love you, buddy.
I love you too, man.
And we'll talk to you very, very soon. And to the rest of you, a big thank you tonight to Kmart, to Gary ×2, Izzy Stradlin, Deanna, T-Bone. Thank you for the super chats. If you're new here, because we picked up a few subscribers this week, a number, about 25 of them. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. We greatly appreciate you. And you know what? Do us a favor. Share it with a friend. And then I want to know your thoughts on tonight's show. Let me know. Comments below after we're done here. You can put them on YouTube. You can put them on X, whatever. I want to know your thoughts on tonight's show. Let me know about that. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Don't forget, tomorrow afternoon, Dirty Filth and the Cryptid Cartoons, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. See you soon. Good night, Lee.
Good night, sir.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.